5, 6.
69!
That's my PIN number. 6969.
It's 6669. Welcome to Chubby Boy Magic!
All right, there we go. Hey, it worked that time.
Funny how that
now.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're normal now.
I am normal. Well, I mean,
You know who's not normal? Fuck you, Nate.
fucking degenerate Nate.
There it is.
Yep.
There it is.
We made it 29 seconds in before we got one in.
Yeah.
We made it last night 20 minutes in before we said it.
Okay.
That was pretty crazy. I didn't know if we were actually going to do it.
Yeah, so you had some fun then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we were just
Yeah.
like, fuck you, you piece of shit. Love you, Nate. So on this episode, we've been trying to get this guest for a little bit. He's a pretty cool guy. You might have seen him at a couple different events.
Just so busy.
Yeah, he's probably one of the busiest motherfuckers I know. So it's Josh Dewberry from the Lawtigers.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just there's a whole mountain of stuff we're gonna get into, but like
Sure.
we're gonna talk about like your past life. No.
Yeah, right.
If you don't know who Josh is,
He was President Lincoln in a past life.
Don't put that evil on me.
he was JFK
He's like, I
too.
had this thing about theaters.
I don't like convertibles, nor do I like theaters. There was a skit that was going around where it was Abraham Lincoln was yelling at the performer, and John Wilkes Booth is like, "Come on, man, I want to watch the show," and Lincoln's like, "You suck," and that was the reason why. And I'm like, valid reason.
Yep.
So. You have probably definitely seen Josh at an event. He's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in the motorcycling community.
Oh.
But you've definitely seen.
No, he's a big asshole.
Yeah, big old dick.
Yep.
You have definitely seen his marketing material. You have definitely seen something with Lawtigers, and they're a really great company to work with. And you guys do a lot for the community, not only just providing support for riders, but events and all that stuff. So that's the bulk of why you're here.
Sure. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's we are riders, and that's how the company started 20 plus years ago. And
So,
So how many bikes you have? Because you have a lot.
I currently I have had a lot.
Yeah.
I currently only have 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just got one that got a kick-ass paint job.
you did.
The Pan America. Yes.
Pan America.
The Halo bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking on the phone.
Because Cal painted that, right?
Cal did paint it.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get him to get my windshield figured out.
Okay.
So we had the visor, the Master Chief's visor, supposed to be that tinted, and the one that was made doesn't fit.
Oh, really?
No, the stock one has grommets in it, and the guy that built the new one doesn't have that.
The grommet.
It doesn't have that cutout. So it was tooled for the 4.
Okay.
Like screw holes or bolt holes.
Right.
It was tooled to be specific.
Yeah.
Like on a specific jig, right?
Right.
Well, that guy that made the windshield, it's a great quality shield.
Yeah.
It looks amazing, but it doesn't fit.
Oh my God.
So I've got to I need to take it back to that guy. Or have Cal do it. I don't know who did it.
I was going to say, because there's one guy that's over off Main Street in Western, and he does a lot of custom like windshields and stuff.
I think Cal said this dude was downtown.
Yeah, that's where he's at.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did Blake Bell's.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Same dude.
Yeah.
Same dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bell got that hot pink one.
For his
He did.
FXR.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that FXR.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that guy is you can take your screen to him and say, I want it to be 2 inches shorter or 2 inches taller or whatever, and he'll make it to whatever
Well,
your
it's
screen.
cool that he's local too. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can actually take the bike and go and
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I had the Pan America at Black Wall Street a couple weeks ago.
right.
And
Cool
literally
event.
It was an awesome event.
Yeah.
In like
Yeah.
25,000+ people,
Which is
from
insane.
40 different states.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was insane. And I was trying to, before the event kicked off one day, I was trying to get that windshield swapped out and no go.
So does it? I haven't really looked at the front of the pan. Does it look weird without? Like, does it look unfinished, or does it have?
No, so I put the stock one back on just
Okay,
so I
so
had
you-
some wind
okay.
protection, really
Right.
bug protection. But no,
Yeah.
it actually looks. I rode it for a little bit without any shield.
Yeah.
It still looks sick. I mean, it looks like the hooligan bikes,
Right. Yeah.
Which is what
Yeah.
they're running.
Yeah.
In the Super Hooligan series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just.
Taking bugs to the face and chest all the time.
You're like, I'm on a cafe racer.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
yeah.
at least it's not locust time.
No, God no. Well, but it was June bugs were coming out.
Yeah,
You know, whenever so a couple of those. don't feel
Yeah.
so good. But I wear a full face now, so
Yeah.
bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm ready.
What's
know,
your full face helmet that you have?
The current one I have is the Arai.
Okay. Do you like the Uriah quite a bit?
I like it better. So I had a Shoei GTR 2, and I loved it, but the Arai's better. It's
Okay.
I love my
I'm a
Shoei.
big
It's
Shoei guy.
lighter.
Yeah.
We were both big
Yeah.
Shoei guys. So the Arai, is it just because it's lighter or more comfortable for you, or?
all of it, all of the above. So, which I fell in love with the Shoei, and I had the Shoei, that GTR 2 for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Josh
Right.
at Cycle Gear
Josh
said
is leaving. Is he going to another store?
Yeah, he's going back to California.
Oh, okay. I just saw him post about it on Facebook the other day.
Yep.
So.
Yep. He's selling his bikes. and
Everything.
He's going to go. Well, that dude, he buys motorcycles like I do.
Yeah.
And-
Right.
Or trades them out,
Yeah, trades them out.
like I do. That's, yeah. We don't have that kind of fuck you money. So
Yeah,
But,
we're trading. We're not. We're
You
horse
just
trading.
have 3 motorcycle money.
well, and
He's like barely.
well, and one of them is 6 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Indian, and then the other one is barely a motorcycle.
Right.
The Dax
The
is
Dax.
barely a motorcycle. Yeah, you're right.
It's iconic in what it is,
Yeah.
right? But
Right,
but
right.
it's
it's a round. It's a scoot about.
yeah, it screams at 50 miles an hour
Right.
with my fat ass on it, but it's perfect for around the neighborhood, and I take the girls for rides around the neighborhood, and that was what the Navi was good for. And
Yeah.
I always
Right,
try to have
right.
a little bike.
Yeah, you need to have like I have the scooter, I have the FJ, and I have the KZP, and like the FJ is the middleweight, and then the KZP technically is about the middleweight too. But the scooter, dude, that thing puts in some work.
Yeah.
Having a little bike for like the runabout stuff to like, oh, I can go to Winco and get grocery.
Yeah.
Like my wife all the time will be like, I don't have tomatoes.
See, and I have the 2. I have the Softail and the Sportster.
Right.
And then a couple weeks ago, a buddy was over with his little 125 pit bike. And we were running up. We were being hooligans in my neighborhood and wheeling
Yeah.
up and down the street, and I was jumping curbs and, kind of, and it was so much fun. And my wife's like, you should get one. And I was like, what? She's like, I mean, we've got enough room in the garage for it.
You have
Yeah.
enough room for that, but not the Elite. No, I'm just saying. Yeah, we have
The
enough room.
Elite was not to keep.
Yeah, he says that. He was like, I really want a scooter because. So I worked. Yeah, he did. So I worked at a scooter shop when I was in high school, and I'd always wanted like that same one I have, but I could never afford it. And that one popped up for like $300.
Yeah.
And then I went and got it, and the guy's like, it will never run.
We went and got it.
No, I went and got the buddy.
you went and got the buddy.
Yeah, we were supposed to
The
do
Elite.
Yeah, the Elite.
We
We went
went and
to
got.
Methelham
Yeah.
and talked to Methica and Methany.
Yeah.
and bought that from it was Tweakerville. They were nice, but we were like, you're disassembling a travel trailer,
Yeah.
like bit by bit with a grinder. Like, we're like, what? They're like, anyway, so I got that, and he was like, oh, I kind of want a scooter. And I was like, all right. So I found him an Elite because that's what he wanted. He's like, I'll ride it to the grocery store and all that stuff. And then we got it home. He's like, I don't want to ride it anymore. I'm like, oh man,
Why not? When we were buying it, we actually discussed.
Yeah, you were like, I think I want to flip it. I
Yeah.
was like, why would you better wear a helmet? Oh, you want to sell? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
were like, it runs. I could get it running. And you were like, that's what you said.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we'll flip it and split it, 'cause
Yeah. It's on the back
make
burner.
a couple $100.
Yeah, it's been on the back burner for a little bit because like it's just
A year.
out of sight, out of mind. Because every time I like look at it, I'm like, I'll go mess with it. I'm like, oh, man, I got like 90 other projects I got to do right now. So
Yeah.
But the Dax being the runabout bike, just killer.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's
How was your Navi was good, I'm sure.
only in a neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
Because it would top out, at 50 downhill, maybe 52.
I wondered
Right.
how slow
So
they
going-
actually were.
Yeah, so going up the hill, you're 40 to 42. And where I live, there's some hills and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
45, so everybody goes 55. You'll
Yeah.
get ran over. It's not worth it.
Yeah, like, and that's like the buddy, like, it's 50cc. I've done some D restrictions to it, so it will on flat road. It will do like theoretically 45 with me on it, but it takes forever to get there. I checked it with the GPS on Rever. I did because a bunch of people were like, it can't go that fast. I was like, with a tailwind, me tucked up. Me like, because I'm like, oh God, come on. And I'm wrapped out. It takes 2 miles to make that run.
I'm thinking it's like 30, 35 at best.
Dude, I don't know about the Navi, but my speedometer on most small bikes are always off. Most bikes are always off.
They're
but
off
like,
by a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but this
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
One day I'm bombing down the hill, this hill over here. I'm bombing down, and I'm like, good tailwind. It said I was doing 60. I was like, there's this thing coming out of a plane, dropped out of the ground, wouldn't do 60.
So my phone,
Yeah.
I got a new phone because I broke my last one, and which first time I broke a phone ever.
It's
Okay.
tragic, isn't it?
No, it was shocking because I've never broke one. Anyway,
Right.
Yeah.
So this one with Rever, I've tested with Rever several times. I've done all these reboots, the reinstalls. I'll be going 80, and it says I'm doing 99.
Yeah.
Okay, there it's so
So I got to figure that out. It's not just Rever; it's all the Google shit
it's-
that does it
there's-
now.
Rever, for some reason, has always been like,
yeah for him.
you know,
it's
it'll
real
be
weird.
like 3-hour ride, top speed 111, and I'm like, you know,
Yeah,
It's
so,
been
not
spot,
like-
Rever's
like-
been spot on for me.
His has always done
been
it.
spot on.
yeah,
Mine. So I had to lie to the sheriff one time. My wife, the sheriff. So I had just got my BMW K1200. That was my first big bike, and I was route riding with my buddies, and we're coming down 74 out of like cement or something.
yeah.
And so I show her the ride at the end. She was like, "Does that say 145 on it?" I was like, "Weird." I think it didn't triangulate me. And I was like, "Yeah, I was doing 145 at one point, allegedly." You know.
Right.
But like so then after that I had to kind of lie and be like, I don't know what's going on. Like it just kind of, but every time it's always been right.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
always like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was always right with my other phone that I had for I don't know 4 years or whatever.
yeah,
But with this phone, it's not just Rever; it's all
Yeah.
of the apps.
Yeah.
And there's
Google's
I think,
like, why are you hauling ass?
Google. Well, my wife was checking on me because I was in some route in BFE, Oklahoma, right? And she pulled up the Life 360. And she was like, "Why are you doing 96?"
Yeah.
So I like take a picture of the actual speedometer.
Yeah.
And I made sure I got the speedometer in, and I have a camera.
Yeah.
On my windshield that also shows the speed. And I was like, "Nope, doing 82.
Yeah,
You know, the
I'm
speed
not-
limit's 80. So
yeah, I'm not going that fast.
nope.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Damn it!" I was like, "This phone's off."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I did have a couple times where it wouldn't follow what I was doing when I was out in the middle of BFE, because it would be like, oh, you went like over here, and Google did the same thing, and like because it does it by the trigonometry to figure out where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So at one Rever, it was like I did a million miles an hour because it didn't know where to start and stop me, and it just went like 14 miles across, which mathematically I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
besides that,
I've
it's
had
really
Life,
solid.
I've had Life 360. Like my wife called me one time. I was coming back from Dallas, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." What's like I'm on, just outside of between Denton and Gainesville, and she's like, "Well, Life 360 has you in the middle of a field." And I'm like, I'm on the highway, like
On the highway.
I'm good. And she's like, okay, well, I was just checking.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really do enjoy, well, not one thing, but one of the things I enjoy about Rever is when you have the pro membership, you can send out that link so they can see where you've been and they can see where you're at. It doesn't tell you how fast you've gone, which is also very helpful. I think someone programmed that specifically. And so I would send it out to the wife, and then I was down by Hinton, and I was going to go through Red Rock Canyon, and I had stopped, and she was like, hey, she called me. She's like, are you all right? Same thing. Thought I was in the field.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm at the entrance to Red Rock Canyon. I'm trying to decide, like, because they're kind of like, oh, you got to pay. I was like, I'm literally going to ride down, ride back up. I just kind of want to ride through. I might stop and get a photo.
Yeah.
It'd be $30. I'm like, come on. So I was arguing with the park ranger person, and I was like, hold on, I got to call my wife back. And she's like, yeah, it says you're like 14 miles over here into a field. I'm like, yeah, I yeeted myself. I flew.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for calling, though.
Right.
Like, good for looking out.
Yeah. No, which I've never had. That was you had Rever earlier on though, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've had it for since May of 2020 or June of 2020, because I went into, so I started riding street bikes in.
I always forget to start it until I'm like 20 miles into
Going.
the ride. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I probably should have started that.
Well,
I'm like,
well, so I went into Cycle Gear. I talked to Ghost Andrell, and we were talking about all this stuff. And I was like, "Well,
Right.
hey man, I know car routes and stuff, but what are some cool motorcycle routes?" And he's like, usually I'm riding to for an event or something like that. You could check out this Rever thing though, and check it out." So I looked, and they had like the whatever map service that was on there that was like the premium membership. So it would tell you like twisty roads and help you with that. And then you could go to other states and see like, oh, you could go ride this loop. Well, we didn't have any here. So I just I rode around for a while and was building maps to hand out to my buddies that were like, oh, I want to go do this. How did we do it? So they could turn by turn. And then I got a hold of Bjorn over there, and I was like, how do I add this to the map? He's like, you don't. And so we had a conversation about how to get it on there. So then every time I rode, I would map it because I would build it on my desktop. Be like, oh, that's cool. I want to go through that.
Right.
Then I would go out and physically ride it, make sure it worked for a street bike or whatever. And then it always was on for like 2 years. And then you started saying, oh man, I always forget to turn it on. I was like, oh, weird. And then now I forget to turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn it on because I don't want the ride to show that I'm doing 200 miles an hour.
Right.
Just it's the phone. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if that's an
Right,
Apple
right.
thing. But
Yeah. iPhones.
Yeah,
That
I don't.
yeah, jinkety yet now.
it is what it is.
Android superior. So anyway, just because we're not too far into the episode, so just the quick and dirty, or however long you want to get into it. So part of what you do for Lawtigers is marketing, but
Yes.
what does Lawtigers do for a rider?
So we are lawyers that take care of riders when they're injured in a crash.
Yeah.
So we're experts. All the lawyers ride. So there's the way that I explain it to people and how I've been explaining it for years,
Right.
because it's easy to not like lawyers. Everybody loves
totally
not like
understand.
lawyers. My lawyers don't like some lawyers. You know what I mean? So
Right.
We're in the same profession and we don't like each other.
Oh, and they'll make that joke, but they all. I mean, it's legit. But
Yeah.
we are the brain surgeons of this world.
Right.
So if you need, brain surgery, you're not going to go to your general physician. So a basic lawyer that may do, or a specialty in OBGYN, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to the brain surgeon. That's what you need. So that's what we are. That's what we do. So we know how to work the accident reports and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
The new hashtag should be #motorcycle brain surgery.
yeah, well, sure. Yeah,
And you're like,
that's a bad look. Hopefully people wear a helmet, but
wear your lid. Yeah.
right. And that's obviously we promote, the motorcycle safety as well.
Right, right.
I work with a couple of the classes and the courses and just try to help, provide some items to them that will benefit a rider, things like that, like sunglass cleaning cloth so you can clean your helmet visor with, that kind of thing too.
Yeah, which is I think the first event I met you at was probably Eben Bike Night, and it was like 2020, and so you have a bunch of different marketing promo stuff, swag, that you give out, and like my buddy was like, man, I've been trying to get one of these forever. And because like when he was in Dallas, I guess he always was like too late to get them, and he's like, dude, these are grab two.
Right.
Yeah, grab one for everything. Grab one for your truck. Grab one for your car. Grab one.
100%.
Yeah,
They're handy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
So-
we hand out a bunch. I mean, obviously that's what I do is I hand out a whole bunch of Lawtiger swag or whatever. But as far as the legal aspect, that's what they do. And they're lawyers and Todd Colonel, he's also a criminal lawyer. So he's actually
Right.
helped a bunch of people from certain motorcycle Facebook groups
Yep.
that do like to test how fast their bikes go,
Yeah, they
or
just
that
wanna know.
may
Right,
have
right.
may have other issues. So and he's amazing at that. And a lot of people have actually met Todd by now.
yeah.
At events and whatnot. He'll come to Bikes Blues with me. He's been to Black Wall Street with me. I mean, he comes, he
Right.
comes to a bunch of these things.
So as a question for that too, so for Lawtigers as an entity, you're mostly doing post accident.
Yeah.
Not I got a speeding ticket. They shouldn't call you for a fix a ticket kind of thing.
So, so technically, yes.
Okay.
So we are motorcycle injury lawyers.
Okay, so that's
But-
if you're injured in a motorcycle collision, call you guys.
100%. 1-800 Law Tigers, or you can call me, which is 405-538-8836. I have no problem.
It's on his license plate. up front.
Right. Yeah, it's on the front
If you
plate.
don't have Josh's number, you're not reading
Call him
it.
at midnight and be like, what are you wearing?
I may not answer that one, but yeah. But they are lawyers. So Laird Hammond's Laird is the firm that owns Law Tigers in Oklahoma. So so they do have lawyers that are different specialties. We've got a lawyer that does wills and estates and things like that.
Right.
Right.
So and we also have civil lawyers, but they all ride. So they are the best versed in the state to handle motorcycle accidents and to be efficient about it. Our case manager, her name is Avery. She's been doing it for over 17 years.
Oh wow.
She also knows a lot of people in the industry.
Yeah.
People that ride, and she's no stranger to being on the back of a bike. So
Correct.
it's awesome. I mean, there's a reason why I get to take money from a law firm and put it into the community, right?
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah, like so when I first you'd seen the advertising everywhere, and when I first started riding, I was like, oh yeah, Lawtigers. And so my buddy was saying, he's like, yeah, like one of the ones that in Dallas, he's like, yeah, I didn't know, I got a speeding ticket. I called them. They didn't necessarily do that, but they recommended me to who I need to talk to. And then he had an accident where somebody backed over him on his scooter in a parking lot, and it wound up being settled outside of any court or legal system. But he called. He like the Monday. He was like, "Hey, like, what should I do?" And like, this was a fairly loaded family. That of the teenager that hit him. They were like, "Well, keep us on deck." It got worked out. But so if you're injured in a motorcycle wreck, 1-800-LAW-TIGERS, right?
Yes.
Okay. Or online.
Or
If they're-
lawtigers.com. And we do have many markets.
Yeah.
So
across the country.
Do you guys work like? It's maybe kind of a dumb question. So,
about to
like,
be
like if
stupid.
I'm in
Yeah.
Sturgis and something happens to me,
Yes.
but I live here,
Yes.
Okay.
do you guys work
100%. Yes.
it if there, or would it be a different?
So you can call us. So
Okay.
it can go. That you actually have the choice to choose, but yes, we've had cases from Sturgis that
Right,
that we
right.
took that were an Oklahoman was hit
Right
up there,
right.
and 100%. Yeah, we've taken that.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so-
that's cool to know, because I mean, it if you're from here and you're up there and something happens, you're like, oh, I gotta.
Yeah.
Who
well,
the hell
do I call?
Who the
Well,
hell do I call up there? And
Right.
and without knowing somebody, it's open a phone book and hope.
100%. And the my guys and gals have a network of people that they can reach
Right,
out to
right,
if there is
right.
something needed from another state. But and there's more to it. There's something that, and it doesn't get spoke about as much, but we have up to a $10,000 cash reward. So if you have information that leads to a conviction
Oh, wow.
in a hit and run case,
Okay.
we pay up to a $10,000 cash reward.
I've
And
never heard that before.
well, and what's funny is I know I've mentioned it,
Okay.
but it's not one of those because we're motorcycle injury lawyers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that is, if you look at that card right there, it'll say it, and it talks about it. We also, it's the same deal. If you have information that leads to conviction in a hit and run, but also a bike theft.
That's cool.
Yes.
I did not know the bike theft thing. I
That's
guess I did not
yeah.
read the marketing material very well. My bad.
A lot of people overlook it, and it's our job to talk about it. But I also, want to. Not a lot of people know that, so it's one of those things that when I see something posted, or when I'm in a shop or a dealership, I'll talk to them, and when I hand these cards out, I'll say, hey, put this one on your keychain or this one in your wallet, and then I'll point out what it is.
Right.
I'll point out the whole $10,000 reward thing.
That's super neat because that's something that a lot of people, especially in Oklahoma City, you'll see a lot of bikes get stolen fairly frequently, but then you see the community kind of
I mean, all over.
Yeah.
Like, and not just to. I mean, it happens to everybody, because it was
Sure.
What was it, a couple months ago with Kerry Hart?
Oh yeah, his trailer
It was
stolen.
his truck, trailer, and his motorcycle, because he was going. They were
Going to Vegas with his Indian and some other stuff. I think.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it got stolen like
Yeah.
out of a hotel parking lot.
Well, and that's one of the things that if somebody has info that leads to that conviction, and you can kind of make it an anonymous, call us and let us know, hey, this I saw
Right.
this bike posted that it was stolen. I know where it's at. The person across the street from me,
Yeah.
which by the way has happened. There was also it has
Criminals are always highly intelligent.
well, it's I tend to see too much of the positive in people, so I don't think some criminals are as intelligent as they are, and some will shock you with how smart they're. Like, damn, if you would put that towards doing good,
Yeah,
You would
You
be
know,
a
yeah,
really
yeah.
smart
be
and
a-
wealthy individual.
100%, you'd be
Yeah.
sitting on an island somewhere, living
Richard
better lives
Branson?
than all of us.
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I worked retail for a while, many years ago, and that was you ran across some impressive people.
Yeah, I like my thing on Reels has been it's either like crazy, insane, like accidents and stuff, or like criminals doing ridiculous stuff.
Sure.
And I watched somebody try to steal a bunch of stuff. I think it was like a sporting goods place, and like they got all these balls, and they're like running out, and they have like probably 10 of them in their arms. They only wound up getting one.
Yeah.
But like since they tried to steal all of them, I guess it was a grand larceny charge because it was like $100 a soccer ball or whatever it
Okay.
was. So they still got charged with it because it was like the recap at the end of the reel. I was like,
Yeah.
all that effort. You should have got a bag.
Right.
Get a bag. You're
Yeah.
stealing balls, but
Right.
steal like 2 backpacks and just throw it in there.
I mean, they're not all smart. Well,
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the resourcefulness. They were
Right.
like, it stopped with, I got to get the balls.
right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that back to what we do. That's kind of what we do, man. The lawyers care. They're if you meet them, especially someone like Todd, you're not going to know he's a lawyer unless he's literally just got out of court.
Yeah.
Chris Hammonds, he is an Oklahoma boy, played football for OU.
Oh, okay.
He was a team captain the year they won the championship in 2000. So, and he's an awesome guy. Like
Right.
he's generous. He wants to get, things taken care of, get the rider taken care of. He knows the rider, that has a life. So
Right.
he doesn't like to sit on things and him and haw about it. He gets it done.
Yeah.
So he kind of takes that same competitiveness that apparently made him a champion at OU, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
And
it's moderately.
oh, he's the same way. Honestly, with anything, in court especially. But I mean,
Right.
Tenacious. He's going to get the job done.
oh, it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's
Yeah.
fun to see him get shit done. I've overheard a few of his calls, and I'm like, I'm glad you're on our side.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
yeah.
The attorneys that are pit bulls, that are kind of almost secretly pit bulls.
Yeah.
And you watching them kind of in action.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, this is not going to be good.
Yeah,
And
the
you-
unassuming
you're
guy.
like
Yeah.
letting them, giving them that rope, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
mine, and
And
pull
he's-
the rug out. Yeah.
But like I said, he's one of the most generous people.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see. It's awesome to be part of that. And like I said, Chris has a couple bikes now. His Pan America, that's his favorite bike to ride now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been a big proponent of the anti-Harley guy to get a Pan America, and I'm saying it's kind of working.
I mean,
It's
you've
fun.
said that. You've
It's
said
just
that
fun.
before. Since you first got it, you
Yeah.
were like, I did not think I was going to love this thing that much.
No, I hope to like it, right?
Right.
as much money as you would buy one for, you'd hope you would enjoy it.
It's not. If you think Harley and think 30 grand, it's not.
Yeah.
Not
correct.
even close.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also, it has, performance tied to it, which again, not necessary about a stock 900-pound machine like these other
Because it's got the
American motorcycles.
the Rev Max motor in
The
it.
Rev Max,
the
it's a 150 horse motor, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's it was, and
It's going to be
comfortable on top of
interesting to
that.
see when they're going to start putting that in.
Touring frames.
Some of their
Sure,
other
if
bikes.
if they ever do, there's people that
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. But it would be interesting. I mean, it's got the power,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
Well, when we did Polar Ride, there was one.
Yeah. That
And
guy was
he had-
scooting.
It
Yeah.
was Pan Am.
Okay.
He had full bags, so he had the side bag, the back bag, and a passenger. Fastest bike there,
yeah, I mean it's still
hands down.
Yeah.
And like running, like
It's 150 horse, and
Yeah.
it weighs 550 pounds, 530 pounds. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. He was like cooking.
yeah,
And because we were running down, I-20, and at one point, because I was on the Sportster, he's on the KZP, so we were running, 75, because I mean, look, I'm on a Sportster,
right.
and so they had when we left out of Dallas to go to Shreveport, they were going to stop in the middle, and so. I told him, it's like, we're just going to keep going. Like, I'm not stopping. Like, because I know it's going to take us how long to get there. And so it's like, we'll just keep going and I'll be fine on gas. And, we kept going. Well, then everybody passed us when they got back on. And so you had like, the first group that are running, Mach 7 and fly by, and one of the, was the Pan Am, with cases and a rider, and a passenger, and it's just like, woof, and you're like, what?
When that thing flew past us, I thought it was a BMW like GS 1600 because I've seen some guys really scoot on those things, and I was like, that was a Pan Am. That thing moves, man.
Yeah.
And I think the Rev Max is probably one of the best motors. I mean, currently technology wise.
It's different though. It sounds obviously nothing like any of the other.
Yeah, it
motors.
doesn't have the
Right,
low.
right,
And
right.
it's, it's got hydraulic lifters for the cam. It's
The M8 is a nice engine.
Sure.
yeah. No, I think that was a lot
Yeah.
of really good architecture and engineering that went into that motor for design.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but it sounds German.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like the V-Rod, which was the Revolution motor, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
this is the
it's the
the
newest-
nod
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So you can talk trash about it like people did the V-Rod back in the day, but that was also a machine that didn't
mean,
like twisties and it was great straight.
Right.
This bike, and there's a video on YouTube that that Zach Kortz did with Wyman, and Wyman's on the Pan America on the track while Zach is on the competition bike, right? Like the race bike.
Yes,
Right,
the
right.
Harley,
bag-
the bagger, yeah.
Yeah, the bagger.
So Zach's riding that bike, and Wyman's. I mean, he's going to town, and
Right.
Zach even comments on it because he's on the actual 6-figure race bike,
Right.
Yeah.
And a stock Pan Am was
Just-
with a pro rider, but
Yeah.
Right,
was
just-
was leaving
just
him.
wiping the floor with them.
Yeah, he was like, Jesus, that's it. So it's fun. I call it the old man sport bike,
Yeah.
because that's what I use it for. I'll hit some gravel roads and shit because I like riding around lakes around here, around Oklahoma. But
Right.
but it's that the second week I had it, I took a 9-hour day, and I wanted some saddle time, and I rode to lunch in Fort Smith
Yeah.
on my day off, and I was like, I'm either gonna love it or hate this,
Correct.
and loved every minute of it, and with, I think then I had less than 500 miles on it, and opened it up, twisted the throttle a little bit, and
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And it's comfortable even at a higher speed.
Right.
It's not buzzy or anything.
God
like that.
no, super
Yeah.
smooth. I'm talking like it pulled.
So did you run I-40 out and then I-40 back, or did you run I-40 out and then come windy back?
I did a bunch of different ways on the way back. I hauled ass out there just
Right.
just I-40.
I get it. I figured usually you haul ass one, either
Yeah.
going or coming back.
Yeah,
Yep.
I want to get home or I want to get there.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, no, I hauled ass straight out there, and had lunch there. The Steel Horse Rally's in Fort Smith,
Yeah.
so there's a cool barbecue place there that I want to eat at. And I buzzed around the town, and then on my way back, and it was hot on the way back too.
That part of Oklahoma, Arkansas,
Beautiful.
and
It's gorgeous.
and windy. There's so much because
Yes.
Salisaw, Vian, up to Tinkular.
Oh, it's
Is it
amazing.
Vian?
Vian and
I thought it was
Gore,
Vian this whole
no,
time.
it's Vian.
Okay.
And then
and Gore and
Gore and
Tinkular.
Tinkular
And if you go
and-
south, you've got Moyers and Antlers. And,
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's-
We went through when we came up from K River. We went up through Hugo and all that.
He had
came up
never
into
seen. Well, he hadn't seen as an adult the not the Philosopher's Stone,
The Runestone.
The Runestone. I was like, we gotta go
It
see
had been
it.
a while since I've been to Heavener, and so my parents.
I made dude, the
Haven't-
Vikings were in Oklahoma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we'll talk about. We'll get to
Okay.
it in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I
And-
made him. I was like, we're nerding out. I want to go see this
Yeah.
because I've seen it as an adult like 10
Yeah.
times. I was like, we gotta go. For
Really?
it. Yeah.
yeah.
On the
'Cause so
on the to-do list.
Yeah.
my parents have a place out at Tinkular, and they've had it for like 35 years, and so we were coming up, and it was like, well, we'll go up and hit kind of hit Talamina, go through, do a little bit of the byway, and then come up through Hugo and Heavener, and stopped in Salisaw and ate at the fish place there over by the
dam.
the dam, and
Yeah, when we were walking in, I was like,
not Fish Tails, because that's in Tishomingo, but it's something kind of like that, where it's like all you can eat little catfish shack.
Okay.
and it has not been like the decor is from 1970. It has not been updated. And I was like,
It hasn't changed, and it's
They
right.
built it, and that's when they did it.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 10 miles south of Salisaw.
Okay.
And then we hit Salisaw and then rode over through whatever it is that's not I-40, but like it follows I-40.
Yeah, it's not,
the little
um,
state highway, and took it in and went through Vian and then over into Tinkular. My parents' place it. I don't know if you've ever been to Tinkular.
That's my favorite lake.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
I've won big bass on that lake a couple
So
times. Which they're not big there, but
my parents have a place in Paradise
Yeah.
Hill. You know where
Yeah.
Fin and Feather is?
sure do. I've
Yeah.
stayed there several times.
Yeah, yeah.
It's depressing now.
you know
over
where the
there.
fire.
I don't stay there anymore, but
Yeah, it is. But you know where the fire station is right
Yes.
there? They live like right over.
just to the east of it,
Like
those houses there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like I'd never been out there, and we wanted to make sure we got there before nightfall because he's like, right when we get we'll be riding, it would be cool, but like right when we get to their house, about 2-3 miles out, maybe, he's like, it gets like kind of weird, and it'd be nice to see it. And I was like, okay,
Well, I mean, you don't have a lot of visibility. It is windy because you're going
Sure.
right
Yeah.
through in the mountains, and
Yep.
I'm like, I just want to get there before deer really get
out.
There's so many.
There's so many.
It was so bad.
We saw, I saw one hit by when we were fishing a tournament,
Yep.
and guy pulling his boat in front of us.
I've seen so many hit there by the
It
Boys
sucks.
Ranch, or but
Yeah.
coming around by the little cabins, and they're just like,
It sucks,
Get
man.
plowed through. Yeah.
We'd go up. I think it's in Indian Hill Road.
yeah,
We'd go up that west side to Burnt Cabin.
Yeah.
and that's where we saw that, and I was like, Jesus, that sucked.
yeah,
Yeah, dude, hitting a deer in anything is never fun.
It sucks, and they're just dumbass creatures, but
yeah,
yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
I hit a doe one night at at 65, and it came out, stopped, and I was like, cool, we're gonna clear it, and then it just kept coming slowly, and I'm like, I
Right.
can't do anything because I'm on Northwest Expressway trying to go out to Ishins. I'm like, I'm gonna nail this thing. And then when I broke down in Texarkana, we were coming back, and I was like, there's deer everywhere. My dad came down from the house. He drove from up here, and he was like, yeah, there's deer like all over the place. Have fun with that. I'm going to sleep in the back seat.
Yeah.
So we get out to a point where I'm like, we can either go up the long way or the short way, but it's going to be a lot of deer and all that stuff, or we'll go over to 35 and come up that way. I'd rather do that. We still did that. We still saw it.
There's still
deer everywhere.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sucks.
I was like, I don't want to think about like hitting a deer at 2:00 in the morning.
No.
Yeah.
No,
No.
you gotta. It sucks because I love night riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be off the road.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Or you've got to be, I mean, not slow, but like you got to be really like ready to stop.
We hit one last July coming back from Colorado, and we were in Texas, and we hit one of my wife's Telluride, and like we saw a bunch, and I was going 10 under the speed limit.
Yeah.
And I think it had just hit like 8 or 9 p.m., so it was just getting dark. I was like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure enough. And that was my third one, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, not fun.
Deer killer. Yeah.
It sucks. The Lawtiger man got one coming back out of Paris. I was in Antlers, like on the turnpike in Antlers, and
Yeah.
a buck hit me when I was going 80 miles an hour.
Did it like T-bone the band?
It hit my door. It hit my door, and I saw it happen so fast, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And it bounced off my door, and I was in the slow lane.
Yeah.
There was nobody on the road. It was late and dark, and bounced back off to halfway off the road.
Yeah.
On the other side of the fast lane. But I saw its antlers, and I started checking my body.
Yeah.
Because I thought I just got impaled, and I was like, oh shit, oh shit.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was in December, so it was I think 4 degrees, and it hit my door so hard because it hit the door and it hit a little bit of the front fender, and it knocked my windshield down about halfway.
Okay.
Wouldn't come up. So I got to bundle up with everything I had, all the Lawtiger beanies I had.
We should start doing gloves and jackets, guys.
We got them.
I would have been like duct taped to magazines.
It was bad. I bundled up in all the Lawtiger shit that I had.
Yeah. Hey, do you have the latex
3 hours
gloves?
home. I do have latex gloves. Yeah.
I need to get
Did I
some.
not give you a box?
No, not yet.
Okay,
All right,
yeah.
This is the first time I've seen you in person for a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit.
Yep, I got them.
Yeah. Yeah. Cruzy had them, and I was like, dude, I gotta get a set because
Yep.
he was like putting on the black latex gloves, and I was like,
Yep.
I need to get a set of those, and he was like, I got them. Like, I'll see you, and I'll give them to you.
They're more popular now. Whenever we first came out with them, I tested a few shops, and we don't use gloves, and
I don't understand that.
I don't either.
I've worked on cars my entire life. I've been physical, like construction, building with my hands my
Yeah.
whole life. Dude, I don't want to go walking around looking nasty as shit all the time.
yeah. Well, more people are using them now, so I've
Yeah.
ordered more, and I'll try to keep at least a few boxes in the truck at all times.
I bet Seabass down at old Indian, senior Indian, he'll probably want a set.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
might. But he's got tiny baby hands.
He's a small individual. What did he say? He's 5'4" or 5'11"
I mean,
and a half. He wants the half inch. He's like, I'm keeping the half inch, but
Is he
he's not
5'11"?
He's not 5'11".
what is he?
I don't know. He's like 5'2"
I don't know.
and 3/4.
Yeah,
Or,
he's
no, he's probably.
how tall are you?
He's probably like 5'6", 5'7".
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. He's not. He's not short. He's not Gilly short, but he's not like he's not Hanson tall.
He likes his women 5'11" and above.
He likes to climb them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
likes to go uppies.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Literally,
Yeah,
he likes to say uppies.
But with or without an Adam's apple, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not picky.
All right.
Josh is like, this is going off the rails.
He
guys.
he likes all flavors.
Yeah. He's an equal opportunity lover. So, dude, that sucks. So, it breaks out the glass. You've got all the beanies on, and you're just like, I hate this.
Yeah,
I hate this.
3 hours home and with a negative degree wind chill.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're now moving at speed too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I slowed it down. I slowed it to
Yeah, but even
the
still,
speed limit,
at
but
4 degrees, if you're running 30 miles an hour, you're
It
at
sucked.
negative 25
no,
wind chill.
you know when you get back from a cold ride, it
Yeah.
takes you a couple hours to thaw out.
Yeah.
I had the same deal. I was like, this was not worth it in a car. I should have just stayed somewhere, but
Yeah.
it took a few hours to thaw out. But
Wow.
Yeah, the first candy ass run I did, I think I did it with you, right? Did we do
Yeah.
it together?
Yeah.
And it was cold, but it wasn't like really, really cold. So, I was thawing out when I got home. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then the second one we did was real cold.
That one was cold.
That
I had
was the
like,
last one I did.
yeah. I couldn't get my hands like I didn't have heated gloves, and so it was like 18 layers of gloves on, and I can't hardly move my fingers.
He's like,
can't feel
and
anything.
he's
they
like,
were-
I can
and
catch
they
a
were
football real good right now.
and they were
Right.
still cold.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like, this sucks.
The last one that we did, last ride we did on the K River, him and I got stuck in Midwest City, Oklahoma City.
It's Oklahoma City, 23rd and Coltrane.
Yeah.
23rd and Coltrane. Or, no, it was Bryant.
Bryant. Yeah,
23rd and Bryant.
Yeah. We got stuck.
It actually started, it was coming back from Tinkler.
Okay.
And so we
Yeah.
took Highway 9 in and went through, what did we go through? Muldrow.
Seminole and
No,
Ada.
we went down
Yeah.
south of Eufaula.
Okay.
And so, like, left Tinkler, came through Gore. It was state highways the whole way in. And when we got to Shawnee, Tecumseh, it was like just this wall of you could see it coming on the map. And
this is like I-40 is all under construction. It's real bad, out that
Yeah.
way.
And-
Oh, yeah.
So we're like, we don't really want to ride 40 and be in this wall of water and all that stuff. So we're like,
Right.
we'll go up to 62 and then come over that way.
Yeah.
And then we kept stopping. Like we'd go about a mile, we'd stop because we kept trying to figure out like, do we need to wait it out? We should have just gone.
we should have just
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
Because from Meeker on, it rained on us. We stopped in Hera, kind of like maybe it looked like it was going to let up a little bit. So we stopped in Hera
it did not.
at a bank and, sat on the
The drive-through.
drive-through, kind of just sitting there like, hi.
Yeah.
And then finally,
People were like driving by like,
And-
hey, you guys
yeah.
good? We're like, nope.
And so then
I can't swim. Right. Yeah.
we're like, all right, let's just do it, And so we ran down 23rd, and when we got to Sooner,
Yeah.
it was raining so bad, and it was flooding. There's
Yeah.
that church soon as you cross the river.
Yeah.
There's like that church over on the one side, and it was like
He comes across-
literally a river, and so we're riding on the center line because it's your high point, and
Yeah.
we're going about 10 miles an hour, and I'm like, I can't see out of my visor. It's fogging up. It's raining, and he's on comms, and he's like, I can't see, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
like,
you're
I-
lifting it up, you
Yeah.
can't see. You're putting it down, you can't see.
Right.
Because I had my mod on, so
Yeah.
I'd like my glasses would fog up, so I'd lift my visor up, and then it just like now I'm looking through
Right.
the ocean.
Yeah.
And you put the mod all the way up for the face, and that kind of helped for about half a second. So I was like, down, up, around, okay. And then that church, you were like, I think we can pull over here because he couldn't see either, and he was like, nah, blind faith, man, I got it. And so,
And I was
he
just
just
looking for
started, and I was like, no.
I'm looking for something with an awning that we
Yeah.
can at least get under.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, none of these buildings have an awning.
Yeah.
And so we're like, again, creeping down because you can see where it's flooded out into both lanes. And like the only thing where it's really not kind of flooded out is the center line. And so we're kind of either driving on that or like when there's not cars coming, incoming lane. And he's on comms. I can't see, and I'm like, neither can I.
Yeah. I was like, keep going. I gotta follow your tail light.
And so
Yeah.
we got to 23rd and Bryant,
Bryant.
and there's a little daycare that had just enough of an awning, and it was like
They had a ramp, so we rode up the ramp, and then we parked underneath the awning, and then we both went, I don't like motorcycles anymore. We should get into like airplanes.
we stayed there for about 20 minutes, and then
Oh no, it was longer than 20 minutes. We were there for like an hour.
I don't know.
Because like we're like, do we? Because then, trying to go from east side of Oklahoma City to the west side, we're like, well, we can't cross here because this is an underpass, so it will be flooded. Because like we're watching 23rd Street just flood.
Yeah.
And it's coming like we're up, probably 150 foot away from 23rd Street, and it's moving up close, and we're like, where's an overpass? 50th, and that was the only thing we could really figure out, so we could get over that way. Man, it was over my floorboards. Like he doesn't have floorboards on the Sportster, so he's just like, yeah, my feet are up. I'm like, well, my feet are floating. And like, dude, I'm like, I guess we got jet skis today.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but memorable trip.
And then we get over by, it was 50th, so we get over by the zoo, and it's just like kind of sun peeks out. It just stops raining, and it's like,
Okay.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get home, just peel all the wet clothes off.
I didn't talk to him for like a day because I was just like, it wasn't I was mad. I was
You
just
got
like,
enough.
I can't. My fingers are
Yeah.
so pruny. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And like the next day, I was like, how long did it take you? He was like, I finally kind of dried out about 4 or 5 hours later. And he's like, I was still cold for about another 10.
Every time I've gone to K River, I have gotten rained on.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time. every time that we
That's rough.
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not talking like sprinkles. We're talking about like torrential
Like
drought.
coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We rode back from Fast Life, the last one that they did, and we're coming back. Our buddy's leading, and I'm like, he is hauling ass. We had all kind of got split up, so there was 2 groups of us. So I'm in the first group, and he's moving allegedly
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess the good thing is if we all eat it, like, I'm not gonna make it through it. So like the ride's over at that point, and then we pull over an Ada, which that took like, I don't know. It was like we were riding really fast for about probably 45 minutes or an hour. And we pull over an Ada. I was like, why were you going so fast? He's like, oh, my gauge cluster died, so I didn't know how fast I was going.
He was just going.
And
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
leading, and then we were all following him.
Yeah.
So I guess we pulled over at the Dollar General. And that's when he
Yeah.
said, hey, I don't have a gauge cluster. I don't know how fast I'm going. I'm like, oh, well, we were doing theoretically 115 at one point in the rain that we can't see. I couldn't see you. That's how bad it was.
Jeez.
And I was like, man, he's got a real death wish. And he's like, I'm real scared.
I just want to get home.
He is 100% the guy. He'll leave the event. If it's like a Friday, we all get there, Saturday event, and then everyone's riding back Sunday afternoon. He's leaving at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. Be like, I gotta have breakfast with my grandma.
He's getting home.
Oh yeah, and he's getting home like pretty good time.
Yeah.
So
He's still got a day when he gets to where he's going.
yeah, like
Yeah.
he's not like, yeah, man, I guess I gotta order some dinner. He's like, no, I'm making breakfast.
Yeah. I'm hitting home for breakfast.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna smoke some ribs. It's gonna take about 8 hours. I got all day to do it. Yeah. Yeah. The driving home in the van with no heat and a broken window from the deer is pretty bad.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. But
So what's your favorite ride you've done?
Ooh. Favorite ride probably ever was, I don't know, probably Sturgis. There's so many good rides out there.
Right,
You know,
right.
you've got Needles and dude, I don't know, there's a ton. There's coming out of Spearfish. Coming out of there is real pretty. It's also the pig trail's also nice too, man.
Right.
And that's close. But you know, Talamina is one of the top rides in the country.
Right.
it's crazy.
Right.
People will say it's one of the top rides, and I've done it so many times, and like, but people from out there, like, that's the only good riding road. And I'm like, yeah.
It's not the only one. Like I said,
Yeah.
I like riding around, lakes. So where I live, I'll ride around Draper, which is, working the schedule that I do, and especially with young kids and all these events and stuff. I may not have a lot of time to go crush 6 hours on the bike and hit a ride.
Yeah.
So I'll get off work or whatever, or if we don't have anything to do, or if I have a couple hours, and I can go ride around Draper and be back in an hour.
Yeah, you can go enjoy it.
Yeah.
I still get my fix, right? I still get that therapy. The whether it's the cool thing about owning all the different bikes is each the same road. It's different on the Chieftain.
Right.
It's different on the Pan Am. I rode it on the Sporty I had. It was different on that.
Right.
Hell, I rode it on I had a Duke 390.
Yeah.
That was fun because you just redline it everywhere you go. Same thing with the BMW, that G310, baby GS.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Because you're
have
just
fun.
Yeah, most of the time it's funner to ride a slow bike fast and a fast bike slow.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, because you're ripping on it,
Yeah.
You
And-
feel like you're doing a million
Well,
miles
and
an
you're
hour.
not breaking the law. So, the Pan Am, don't get me wrong, you can have some fun on it, but you can also get into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the Indian, don't get me wrong, I mean, you can drag your floorboards out there,
Right.
but in a couple spots anyway. It's not like, well, depending on how fast you're going.
Right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But I've also dodged deer and, man-sized
Yeah.
turkeys out there. So
Yeah, the
So-
first. Oh, go ahead. Oh, so the first time I went out there on my 300, my first bike I had, a guy stopped me. He's like, "Hey, there's a bunch of deer on the east side, whereas you come around over by the dam." He's like, "Just go through there slow." I was like, "Okay." So I go through and like I see all the deer and all that stuff. So I've done Draper a whole bunch because that's my midday ride. A lot of times I've got an hour and a half to kill, so I can go down there and come back. But it's funny because like I would see all the sport bike guys coming through in the middle of the day, and I'm like, "Hey, there's deer down there." I'm like, "Slow down, do the hand movements
Yeah.
for it," and then you just hear them. I'm like, "I hope I don't hear about this on Facebook."
right.
Yeah, because I've seen some guys go through there pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
you got to
like,
be careful. They got the black and whites out there now.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that, and luckily I've never had any issues with police out there. But I'm also fairly safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you remember that span of time? Every time I went down there after I pulled off a Douglas, I kept finding wrecked bikes.
Yeah, there was, when was it, 2 summers ago or something?
Yeah, I went down there. I quit riding there as much. I was going out to El Reno. I was doing a loop out that way to get coffee and come back in. And I was like, I'll go ride Draper. And I find a wrecked cruiser. And so first thing initially, pull over, don't see anybody. There's no caution tape. So I start looking for, did this guy get flung off the bike? And then so I don't find anybody. And then I was like, I'll call in and report it. But by the time I come back around for the loop, there was somebody there working it. Mm-hmm. Wrecker. And then the next time I waited about another couple weeks.
Yeah.
Next time I go out there, found a different bike.
Yeah.
With caution tape on.
Was it off of one of the turns?
Yeah. So it's like before you get the post.
That hard
Yeah.
90.
I mean, that hard 90 over there has eaten so many people's lunch.
Well, that's why Sturgis eats a lot of people's lunch too, because you get people from these flat areas that you can see miles away, and they aren't comfortable. The pig trail is no different.
Yeah.
People get real comfortable and they come in too hot, and it's like,
It's a decreasing radius that goes from a 90 into a 20 and all this stuff. Yeah.
and they let somebody more experienced lead because that person's probably been there several times. Well, guess what? There's a reason why there's a saying, ride your ride.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not used to, grinding down some pegs or your floorboards or whatever, then you're not going to like that. And that's why they'll straighten up and run off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
If you're not ready for it, it will get you pretty good.
It will. And it's not like it hadn't got all of us at some point, but hopefully
Right.
not bad enough to where we've,
Yeah,
you know,
it's the
couldn't
room-
recover.
Yeah, the room of margin of error. I always try to leave a pretty good one because
Sure.
the last thing I want is oh shit, if I just went through a little slower or just a little faster or whatever.
There
You're
you
trying
go.
to calculate it.
a little bit slower
Yeah.
or maybe I need to get more comfortable with my bike and
Yeah.
get used to, throwing it
Yeah.
down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing.
I do the speed limit thing. So it's like if I'm coming into a turn and it says 25, if it's 25 or lower, I'll usually actually slow down.
Yeah.
yeah.
If
You
it-
know how fast to go at that.
right.
speed.
So
Yeah.
if it says 50,
Yeah. You can handle it.
I can handle it
60
at
or so.
40, or if I may slow down, I can go through it at 50 or 60,
Right.
but it's like,
Right.
I know that's probably going to be a sweeper where if you're at 25 or 15,
That's a hairpin.
Yeah.
that's a hairpin.
Yeah.
And this is for-
and it's like, nope, I'm taking that.
If you see 15, get ready. Buckle up.
Yeah,
Right,
my buddy worked
right.
for ODOT, which is the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, and he did highway design and bridge design forever. And we were having that because he lived out by Muskogee or Okmulgee or somewhere out that way, and it's kind of curvy. And he was the one that was telling me that he's
Yeah.
like, from a design standpoint, from ODOT, if we tell you 15, you should probably do 10. Because 15's probably getting through a little hot. And he's like, 50 though, you should be able to do it 100. No problem. That's design speed. We're thinking about tractor trailers and all that stuff. But if
Yeah.
you're in a Corvette or something fast, you
Yeah.
can double it over. I think he said 45 and up. You can usually double it. But if
Yeah.
it's 45 or if it's 40 and less, he's like, yeah, you should stick to that. If it's telling you that for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your most underrated ride? That when you not going into it, not expecting anything, and you're like, holy shit, that was awesome. That I guess.
Well, so years ago, I had an M109, a 2011 Suzuki M109, and a buddy of mine, he just upgraded from a C50 to a C109,
right.
and we did a bunch of night riding. This was before we had kids and stuff, and he was actually a teacher for Bishop McGinnis. But anyway, we did a bunch of night rides. My wife would still work nights,
Right.
and we would actually do a casino run.
Right.
Okay.
Casinos, you get free drinks.
Yeah.
Sodas.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
Don't drink and gamble.
well, or ride.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
so we get free sodas and stuff. And
Right.
we'd go in there and we literally spend $5 or $10 gambling or whatever and take a break, and then we'd hit the next one. And we would do that for I'm talking 4 to 6 hours just and at night it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. 'cause-
Minus the critters, which
Yeah.
oddly enough my dad warned me about, but I knew everything, right? In my 20s.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, but we would ride Highway 9, and then we would hit, so through Shawnee or whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Right.
after the Grand,
Right.
we'd go hit Highway 9, and then we'd come back west. And man, I know several times we've taken Harrow Road or Choctaw Road or Anderson
Yeah.
coming back north, and during those times it was cooler.
Yeah.
Right.
And this was also a time, again, when I was less intelligent, than what
Right.
I barely am now. I didn't wear helmets.
Right.
Okay.
So you could feel, you know, the wind better. You felt the change in temperature, and especially if you got to riding over Dirty Bird,
Yeah.
you could feel the temperature change. You could
Right,
feel all that
right.
stuff.
All the
And
lowlands when you're hitting in the dips, and
it was amazing. Well, one night we did it. It was the 4th of July. Wife was working, so me and that buddy went and did the same
Right,
thing. So
right.
we're seeing. We got to ride through, and we saw like 15 different fireworks shows.
Yeah, because out that
Constantly.
way, it's
Yeah.
just
constant
constantly.
fireworks.
And looking back, it's a stupid time to ride because there's a bunch of drunk morons on the road, on top of all the critters, right? But it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you look, there's just things popping off on top of the, it's July 4th, right? It's hot as shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. It's still warm.
right.
But it's
But-
better
but-
at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's only 85 to 90.
and people don't realize down, especially around Thunderbird area,
Mm-hmm.
like on Anderson, when you get out like 149th
Mm-hmm.
and 180th, there's some giant hills.
dude.
Yeah.
Some big rollers.
The ups
Yeah.
and downs. So
Sure.
you're going from 80, 90 to the top to 70 when you get in that
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the,
in
in
the
the
low.
valley and
Yeah.
the low.
Yeah.
And it's like
The temperature
hot, cold,
changes
hot, cold,
a
and you're
lot.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing going out around. So I would say just around that area.
Yeah.
But then going to like Seba Station around there,
Yeah.
around 62, 102,
Right.
and Route 66. So taking all those roads,
Yeah.
same thing. I mean, it's prettier out there, but I don't know. That's where we would kind of stay.
Yeah.
Whenever we were, just trying to, I don't know, go have a little fun, go ride a
Yeah.
little bit.
yeah, so,
I've had a few, like one of the ones that surprised me, Fort Smith surprised me how
Okay, yeah.
cool like their Bricktown area is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
bike friendly the city is.
They're bike friendly when they have a lot of cool murals on the buildings and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that going from Fort Smith over to Hot Springs,
Okay.
that
Yep.
through Magazine Mountain when you're through the Ouachita.
yeah, dude.
You know,
Magazine Mountain is a trip. I've driven Magazine Mountain. Have you been up it before?
Oh, hold on. What highway is that off of?
It's over in Arkansas. I have to look it up. It's inland
It's
for
yeah,
the border.
it's one of their little state highways, but it's windy.
So we went and stayed in some small little cabin out in Arkansas, and so basically like the wife was like, I don't know what to do. Like we couldn't really hike because it was kind of out of season. It was really wet. So I was like, well, we can drive a lot. And so we were staying south of Fort Smith, and then we drove over to Magazine Mountain, and like getting to so it's off of 309
Yeah.
and 10.
Okay.
So when we drove up the Magazine Mountain, I was like, dude, this is like, we've been to Pikes Peak before, and we've been through some stuff where I was like, this is pretty close to that. And it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so the Talamina Drive was super foggy when we hit that in the morning. And I was like, all right, well, we'll burn off and we'll go over east and go. So then Magazine Mountain, like it was clear for the first maybe 100 foot of that trail up, and it was foggy and it's all these switchbacks. I'm like, I want to do this in the motorcycle, not in this condition because you can't see shit.
Yep.
But it was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
And
there's a bunch of that stuff out that
Yeah.
way.
Then going from like Gore over to Tahlequah, that's so nice and windy.
It is.
And it's a little 2 lanes, so you're just
Yeah, that's the bummer about, like you go over by like I have a loop where I go from here over to Binger, so I go 40 to 81 and 81 over to 33, go out to Colger because you stop there, and then you can go down to Binger and come up that way, and then come around on 66, the worst part of 66 that's known to man, because it's just bump, bump, bump. But that's nice. But man, when you get out western Oklahoma, there's not really anything. But you get out like Shawnee and east.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's crazy
Yeah.
because like we did one. Me and my buddy, we rode down to that railroad bridge that's over by
Yep.
not Winnett, but it's down that way. If you have not ridden down there, it's cool. It's super. It's hard to find that bridge though.
Yeah, there's Earlsboro and Conowall.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
There's a bunch of towns around there that
Yeah.
you get to run through.
It was crazy. The other weird part about it is I was on the BMW last time I did it, and it takes 91, and everything down there fuel wise was like 87, and I was like, "What? Do you guys not?" And they're like, "Nope, diesel or 87." And I was like, "Okay,
Yep.
well we're gonna run it out," but
Right.
yeah, there's some good, and that's an hour and a half outside of Oklahoma City, and you can go down there and find stuff all day.
Oh yeah, it's way pretty out there. Riding west is fun too. If it's different, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You, get to
you
see
can-
the
you can-
wind farms and rolling plains,
Right, and you can see for miles and miles away.
That is really unnerving to be like, I can see everywhere.
You can see from that's kind of like whenever we'd ride in Colorado, you can look out in some places between towns and whatnot, and between I guess mountains, you can see the rain coming from 30 miles away or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how West Oklahoma is, right?
Yeah,
you can see it coming from a long time away. But you know what? There's a place so it's just into Missouri.
Okay.
I think we actually rode in. So we did like a little regional Law Tiger retreat thing.
Okay.
And there's I think 8 or 9 of us, and we stayed at this really cool place, and I hope it's still going. It's called like the Cruise Inn and Throttle Down.
Okay.
It's an old motorcycle couple owns it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's pretty neat, and there's like a little bar that they have there too. But riding from there, and I think we rode into Branson or
Okay,
part of
yeah.
Branson. And we did ride into Branson, and because we ate at some ridiculously like overhyped restaurant there.
Right,
It was
right.
The
not.
tourists love it.
It was not great, but
That part
place
of
was
Missouri has a lot of great riding.
so much. Well,
Yeah.
it's Northwest Arkansas. The
right,
whole area
right.
is
It's I mean, it's like everything's the pig trail.
right.
You know,
right.
I mean,
it's all good.
It's all good.
You
Yeah.
can get off the pig trail and go find something equal to the pig trail
Yeah,
and not be
yeah.
stuck on the pig trail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. Which and that's a great ride. But yeah, like riding through Eureka is awesome. Rogers, but that entire area of Missouri is awesome. So, when you guys were talking about like, I guess underrated rides, I was just thinking roads that I enjoy riding that I can go ride now, and not I don't have to go.
I mean,
that's
4
a
hours
fair-
away for.
That's a fair one too, because everyone wants to talk about Talamina and Talahina Drive and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you obviously once you get north of 40, kind of by Chandler and all that stuff, that's kind of like 102 that goes straight north. It's kind of
Yeah.
boring, but like you do get to see some scenery out that way.
Yeah.
But there's, like going to 10 Killer and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I'm
10 Killer's amazing. Grand Lake is also a good one too. Though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I thought I was like, oh, it'd be cool, but like that was an underrated ride for me when we did that one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, it's gonna be, we'll see Grand Lake, we'll see, or not Grand Lake, we'll see Eufaula, it was cool. It was cool the whole
Yeah.
way through,
Yeah.
and like and it's a lot of the old small service station kind of stuff. So there's still old cool cars or trucks. So
And like
Yep.
when we went south to Eufaula, Porum, and everything. So we actually came up like the dam at
Yep.
Eufaula.
that
and,
damn.
And so that was cool. And then even going from like when we were going to 10 Killer, we rode across the dam coming there off of IN and
Yeah.
coming in. So it was fun.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know. It's fun it's fun going fast on the highway too. Sometimes, just hammer down to get there, but then
Right.
it's also fun to like slow down and take your time.
It's
and,
awesome
like,
if you don't have an agenda or you
Yeah.
have to be there by
Yeah.
a certain time.
Yeah.
Just to screw around and do that. That's the whole, like the passport rides.
Yeah.
Whenever the state came out with those little passports years ago.
Yeah.
I loved handing them out and,
Right,
in
right.
a bunch of groups that I work with and sponsor or support or whatever, I would end up giving them tons of them, and they would literally plan days that they would just knock out passport rides.
Yeah.
So go
That's
get their
awesome.
stamps
Yeah,
and stickers and
yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one, and I tried to do a bunch of it because it was Route 66 related. So I was like kind of here in the city, and then a little bit further west and a little bit further east, and like, but it was during COVID, so like they're like, oh, by the way, you're not doing all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I ride like the first time I went to SEBA, they were closed. So like I rode out there, I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Well, gonna turn back around and go home now.
Right.
But I want to go do them again because I think they're still doing the passports.
100% they are.
And they've
just
got
came out
different
with a new
ones.
one. Well, so there was a red one and a yellow one. I think I forget the color of the new one, but most of them have the same places.
Yeah.
Red one was the first one. The yellow one was the second one. I forget the color of the new one.
Is it green?
It might be. I've got to go pick them up. I just ordered about 1,000 of them. I need to go pick up.
Yeah, and the Travel OK, I don't know if they're still doing it. You could go online and you could order a bunch of different stuff. From
Yes,
them.
you can click a button and order all kinds of crap.
Yeah, it'd be like, top fishing spots and all that stuff. Well,
Yeah.
they had a motorcycle one, and it actually had, it was somewhat dated, but
Yeah.
it had a lot of
the
really
ride
good-
guide.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it was. I got like a bunch of them.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
it the like taller, skinnier
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
I'd like to do it right. Go up northwest Oklahoma, like up through like Jet, go to Salt Flats and
Yeah.
like Black Mesa, kind of just
I
all
was
the
just
way
there
up
this week.
and
Oh, you were
know.
you were in Jet or
This week I went to Woodward
okay?
yeah,
and shot over to Little Sahara,
yeah.
then Enid, and then I hit up, what was it? Blackwell, which that's where I guess we can plug this event.
Yeah. Hold on.
So
Where's the?
So It's in Brahman, Oklahoma, which is just north
Yep.
of Blackwell, like
Yeah.
2 minutes north of Blackwell. But it's called Breakfast in the Boonies.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've, done, I've been there. That's
done
actually
it.
that's
Yeah.
actually a good time.
It's an awesome time, and you'll meet
and
people
if-
from multiple states usually, and
and if you don't have Kansas off your checklist,
Yeah.
you can go
Knock it out.
3 miles
And get to
north,
Kansas.
Right.
Yeah.
and be like, I've ridden in Kansas.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, because we would rode up there. We took 35 all the way up, and had breakfast, which was a good time. There was probably when we got there was probably 80 to 100
Yeah.
bikes.
Yeah, and,
And-
it's donation based. Is that
Yeah,
how
It
works?
is.
It's,
Okay.
it's
And they have a
donation only.
spread.
Yeah.
and it's like there's a food truck where they're cooking, and so
Okay.
it's like legit food. It's not, like microwave food. They're actually
Oh,
cooking.
they're making it, yeah.
Like they're making it. It's
Yeah.
good food, and it's donation only. Whatever you want to give, and so yeah, we went and hung out there, and then took 77. Went across and
Yeah.
took 77 back down.
Yep.
And just kind of took our time coming back, and then took 60. We took 77 down to 66, and then came
66,
in that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was good. That was actually a good time, and
It's
they do
a
it
fun time. It's the fourth Sunday of the
fourth
month.
Sunday of the month. Yeah.
And what is their season that they go through? They
So it is May through September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think June 22nd is the next one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the fourth
Yep.
Sunday of the month,
Yep.
all the way up until September.
Yep.
Yep.
It's the last. So the last one. So you can go the fourth Sunday of September,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Yep. September 28th is the last one.
one.
Now, and every now and then she'll do like a concert
Yeah.
and kind of have a similar thing. They just do it at night. But
Because
it's
it's at their house, right?
yeah, it's on their property.
Yeah.
It's on their property, and it's. I mean, it's a fun time. It's a good ride.
It is a
Todd,
good
one of my
ride.
lawyers, he hadn't ridden in Kansas yet,
Yeah.
so I was like, "Well, let's go."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right
ex-
there. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
knock it out. Go check that one because and there's a little good riding in Kansas, not there necessarily,
Right.
but
Right.
I forget. I worked an event in Kansas. I'm trying to think of what it's called, but and they had a Sunday thing,
Yeah.
Okay.
and the way that they pronounce their town, it is not how it's spelled, and they'll give you shit for that.
It's like
but-
Alex is how it's spelled, but it's Alec.
Yeah, it's different, but there's a couple good little roads to ride up around Kansas too. Anyway, but yeah, that was also the first place that I almost looped the Pan America.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this will be good for me.
No,
Yeah.
I
Can't- so
hammered on it a little bit, and
I'd like
Yeah.
to. I've been wanting to do a ride out of Kansas where you go Wichita and then you head west and you hit like Dodge City, all the
Yeah.
old all the old cowboy towns, and then like you could actually there's a loop you could kind of do where drop south, end up back into Oklahoma and come down. But
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, there's nothing like no shade, no trees,
You
no.
better
So you
bring
gotta
it pop-up
you gotta
tent.
like okay, so do this at a time. That little narrow window when there's like not gonna storm and hail and tornado and not going to be 180 degrees.
right. Well, that's the one benefit about that part of Kansas. That's one of those places you can look and see 100 plus miles, so you know what's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll throw you off because you'll
Yep.
see a tornado and you think it's close because you can see it. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way out
Oh,
there.
it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not even close. Cassidy is what the place in Kansas was called, or the
Okay.
town,
Yeah.
and it was like a little hole of a town
Okay.
that I think had just 100 people, and then people, I don't know, 1,000 to 3,000 people would show up. I think they had 5,000 at one time, just for this little event that they did. I say little, it's a big event.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
But I met people from 5-6 different states there.
which is wild. Like, but that's the thing too, is it's, when we were first started riding with a bunch of people that were at Evan Bike Night, like they'd be like, oh, we should go here and do this. And it's like some random off
Yeah.
place. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Why would we go? And they're like, because we haven't been there before.
Why
And
not?
we should go do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
It's the
the point.
excuse to ride.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the point.
Well, and that's-
yeah.
that's
ride
like-
a day for a burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the brunch in the boonies thing. It was I forget. There was probably a group of 6 or 8 of us that somebody was like, "We're doing this on Sunday," and it's like, I mean, I'll go. And my wife, she drove up behind,
Sure.
and because she was like, "I want to go," and I was like, "Yeah, all right."
not?
And I'm like, "You want to ride?" And she's like, "Nope."
Yep.
It's like she's like, "I don't want to be on a bike for that long."
No,
I'm
that's,
like,
that's my wife. She'll a lot of times she'll be like, I want to go do a loop. Like we'll go do hogback and then kind of
Yeah.
meander around and come back. And then I'm like, do you want to go do this with me? Nope. I don't want to be the black
Right.
log. That's why the Goldwing talk's been so heavy lately.
Right.
Apparently, like now she's like, all right, everybody want to go? I'm like, we're going to go camp. That's she doesn't camp, but yeah, it's nice because like the breakfast in the booney thing, it's been going on for how many years, you know?
This is
It's
the
been
ninth.
going on a while. Yeah, I was about to say it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
and
is the 9th year.
And it's cool because I know a lot of people that like
Now go up to Mulhall. Get now Chicken Shack's
Chicken
open
Shack
up
in
there. You can
Mulhall.
go
Yep.
Chicken Shack in Mulhall.
Yep.
Get you some food and
yeah, that's what we did last time. Was I took her on a hogback and then I took her through Guthrie and then you go through the I don't know what they call it, but the it's not the caves, it's the cliffs north of Guthrie on 77. So you go up there, run through all that stuff. That's cool. Got to watch out for deer there, and you hit Mulhall, stop for a soda and some chicken
your
fingers.
3 miles of really fun twisties.
Yeah, that that's an underrated one. I know a lot of people that have no idea that's so close, and I'm like, it's really cool.
It
you
is.
know what I'm talking about?
I just wish
No.
We're gonna go.
south of Mulhall. Yeah,
It's so between Guthrie and Mulhall, how you get up there.
Perfect.
Is you come out of it's 77H or whatever it is, and
yeah, one of them.
so you go up and it goes through all these like cliffs, and it's nice, and it's kind of follows the river a little bit, some twists and curves, and then you get back out of it, and then you go straight into Mulhall. And you can
Nice.
stop.
Yeah.
That was like when Lucille's was there.
Yeah.
It was nice because you could stop, and then Lucille's closed for years. So
Yeah.
whenever they opened it back up, I was like, oh, you can stop and get something to
then-
drink now.
It's like what is it, 77E or something that runs into 74 over in Crescent, where you do the
74C.
90s.
Okay.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
the Oklahoma twisties because it's a bunch of 90-degree
Yeah, it's all the
turns.
section lines. So you can either start at the Guthrie side and go to Cement, or you can, so I've done it both ways. So you go out and it will be like a 90 mile or not, it's a 90-degree sweeper.
Yeah.
Or 90-degree.
Yeah, that's.
I was like, there's
nothing
two
sweeping about that.
It's a sweeper, but like not. It's a tight sweep.
Sure.
But so there's a couple 25s and then there's a couple 45s, and I'm
Okay.
like, when we go through, because there's a couple, it's by fields, so they farm a lot. And I'm like, if it says 25 and there's grass on the ground, make sure you're.
Well, especially if you don't know the road.
Yeah.
That's the
And it's
whole point of what we
or
talked
the
about earlier.
Clibbins.
Yeah,
The Clibbins will
Clibbins
get
got
you.
me. Well, and it's cool because Cement to Guthrie, you probably have 600 or 700 foot of elevation change, so it's a real slow elevation change, but you're going down.
Okay.
If you go from west to east,
Yeah.
and then so you're really getting at it. And there's not usually a lot of kitty litter. There's not gravel or anything on the road, and like the people that live over that way,
There's
they're
not
always,
not traffic. It's farm traffic.
yeah,
So,
yeah, you'll see like
so you'll
small
you'll
town.
see
3,
a truck.
Sure.
If you see 3 trucks, that's a busy.
Yeah, the first time I rode it, my buddy from Guthrie was like, "Oh, we gotta go through this," because he was kind of showing me all that stuff. And then he's like, "Yeah, every so often you'll have like a farm truck or a postal guy, and he'll kind of slow down in front of you." The next time I go out, it was on my own for the first time up there, and this is years ago. And this F-250 had a hay bale on the back of it on the spike, and so I was behind him for a little bit. I don't think he saw me. And then as soon as he saw me, he pulls over and he like waves. He's like, "Come on, go, go, go!" And he like starts like doing like do a wheelie and all this stuff. I'm like, no, but he was like, "Go, go, 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 go!" So it was nice. It's they're used to it up there.
Yeah.
74C,
Yeah, 74C.
and there's 6 90-degree turns.
I'll check it out tomorrow. My youngest has a softball tournament in Hennessy.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll go.
And it dumps out
yeah.
right in the middle of
Oh, yeah.
Crescent.
Yeah. I drove, when I came back down into Stillwater yesterday.
Yeah.
From Ponca. I was mapping out some roads and
Yep.
whatnot. So
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'll
check that out.
That is the cool thing about what you particularly do as a gig too, is you can kind of, you have stuff you have to do, commitments and meetings and all that stuff, but you also can go scope. You're like, oh, this looks cool.
Unfortunately, I'm just scoping from the Tiger van.
Yeah.
My rolling billboard.
Unfortunately.
And don't get me wrong, I love that truck. That's
Right.
I've got 160 something thousand miles on or whatever that I put in every
Wow.
one of them on there.
Yeah.
But and that's including the few times it was down. So there was
Right.
there's a couple. Well, the deer thing took a while, but anyway, you're right. I get to see some like Glass Mountain out west, and
Yeah.
I get to go see all
Yeah.
that stuff. So I mean, the job's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect, like nothing is, but
It's a job, but-
as far as what it is, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is working and having my law firm. They're amazing.
Yeah.
That is a big
Well,
game changer, is having that awesome of a firm.
Well, we were talking about this. Another couple buddies and I, they were talking about their Lawtigers where they were at, and they were like, "We don't know if they ride or not," and like they're always nice. But I was like, "Well, ours, I know they're all the attorneys that work for that or are a part of that. They do ride, so they get it. It's not that they're." you'll see some other outfits here locally where they're like,
Yeah.
we're the motorcycle law attorney or motorcycle injury attorney.
Yeah,
And
they
like,
don't even own a bike.
Yeah,
and whatever, that's
hey, if that's an avenue of, you're gonna try to get some business drummed up, cool. But at the same time, it takes one to know one at that.
well, because it is a business, right?
Yeah.
My firm is hoping to make some money and hopefully has made some, but they're also doing the community a massive service. And if you look at, so I sponsor 200 plus events a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just in Oklahoma, right?
That's-
So what, and not because there is no comparing, but who else does that?
Correct.
And what firm does it with a smile on their face?
Yeah.
That gives a shit.
Yeah.
you
This
know?
is not
So-
just a blanket marketing where you work for big corporate.
No,
and we're
they're-
doing this, and this.
No, my office has, so there's 4 lawyers that are in partner of owning Lawtigers Oklahoma, and then 2 case managers.
Okay.
That's it. So there's an additional 3 or 4 people that I think work in the office, but there's only 2 lawyers that work the motorcycle cases.
Right.
Okay.
Chris and Todd,
Yeah.
and then you have Avery and Jordan. I'm going to Kansas next week for Jordan's wedding. So, but
Yeah.
but anyway, so they're in the community, and Jordan's actually come and work some events with me. So is Avery, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's insane.
Well, and I think it's the put up or shut up kind of a thing. Like you guys actually, you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we've known you.
Oh, and they eat it up, dude. Todd just got back so he had a bucket list trip, and he took his wife and his kids to, and they're empty nesters now.
Yeah.
But he took his wife and his kids to Ireland,
Oh, okay.
and he was there when they were doing the DGR, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I legit, he sent a video of 150 motorcycles of people just suited up.
Yeah.
He was like, "Look how fucking cool this is!" And
That's awesome.
exactly in
Yeah.
in another country.
Yeah. No, 100%.
While
He's not just
we
like-
had 2 going on here, right?
Yeah.
So
He's not just like, oh, there's motorcycles. Like,
No.
no, he's excited about it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they went and did. Well, they just got back. They went and did another conference in another city.
Okay.
I don't know the details on why, but I know they were there helping out, just kind of.
Yeah. Well, maybe whoever it was.
So I got
Poker chips.
I brought you guys some stuff from once I got
you.
once
Oh,
I
hell
got
yeah.
my
Oh, wow.
my IV out, and I actually got to go on my vacation. That was so. My wife hasn't ridden with me a lot
Yeah.
since having kids. She's ridden some, but whenever we were on vacation, I was like, hey, we have a day. Why do you say we get a bike, and while we're here on
Like,
this
let's go
island?
get some scooters.
Well, so I did make that joke actually, but I don't give a shit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be just as happy on a scooter as I
Yeah.
am,
Absolutely.
a Harley or Indian or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, hey, do you want to rent a couple scooters and we'll just putt around the island? And she was like, no, but I'll ride with you. I was like, wait, what?
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, you seriously want to ride? She was like, yeah, we're not coming here. And
not.
I was like, fucking A, let's go.
Yeah. Well,
So-
also, I don't know. You were on Maui. So,
On
when
Maui,
I
yeah.
was in Kauai, most of the fastest speed limit was 45.
45 was now, you could,
You could obviously.
sure.
Yeah.
Which we did, but,
Allegedly.
but it was sure. Whatever. What are they going to get me from? Come take me back to Hawaii for court.
Whoa, that's the word.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like the cell there, the rent's probably $2,000 a month. So throw me in your cell and feed me your Moco Locos or whatever.
You're what's the pea, the poppin'? Never mind. I'll look it up in a little bit. It's a purple mushy stuff that was at everywhere out there. It's,
Oh yeah. It has no flavor.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be delicious because I thought the color purple would lead me to believe it would be. No, it was not good. It's
Yeah.
mush.
No,
I'm sorry, guys, but it's not.
We
good.
had some awesome food there,
Yeah,
but
no, it-
but riding in Maui was amazing.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that Todd was like, I want a poker chip, damn it.
Yeah.
He goes, I brought you some poker chips, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And which I bought a few, and
Thank you.
yeah,
thank you.
no,
That's awesome.
you're welcome. But I was.
Because I've started getting them.
They charge as much for shirts as those damn things.
Wow.
With the Maui one.
Yeah.
So-
Not Harley shirts because they're $40 a pop, but
Right.
But that poker chip literally costs more than this shirt I'm wearing right now.
Good Lord.
Not kidding. Yeah, because I was gonna. I think I bought 6 or 7
so
because
I've-
I've got one for Todd.
Right.
Yeah.
And whenever they rang me up, and I was like,
You-
what?
What?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't get one for us to share.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like-
Y'all share custody of this poker
So,
chip.
so I've started getting some. And
Yeah, as a non-Harley owner, I also now get the chips because
Yeah.
of you. It's
but,
cool.
but,
Well,
I-
and-
but
and
I have found
Places
out.
like Indian has them too. They all.
yeah,
A lot of
does
people. have them.
Indian have? Okay.
Yeah.
So I have found out,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes this works because I will actually take, like, I'll
yeah,
get
yeah.
some from Iron,
Mm-hmm.
and when I travel, I'll go in. Some stores will
Oh.
Trade you.
So, like, hey,
Fucking cheat code.
Yeah.
I have from Edmond.
Uh-huh.
you
Don't you
or-
trade that one,
or-
damn it.
No,
No. We trade from home.
So we trade from home.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, you know,
Yeah.
I'll go grab a couple from
Sure.
Iron.
Yeah.
And or if,
Fort
if I'm at
Thunder,
World
yeah,
or
or
wherever,
whatever, yeah.
you know, Iron's close to me, so it's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
stop in and grab
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
And
I love that shop.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Jennifer and
some
Kate and all those guys.
That's
Jennifer's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Steve.
of them will.
Huh?
And Steve, I can't leave Steve. out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Charlie.
Yep.
Charlie's still there, right?
Charlie is still there. Cotton left.
Yeah. Cotton's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of them will trade and some of them won't.
Yeah. It is. So
And-
Hollywood would.
Worst they're gonna tell you is no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
So
Hollywood wouldn't, but he ended up trading
for you.
for me because
veteran.
I was a veteran because I was like,
okay.
oh, okay, but like New Orleans,
Yeah. They
they'll-
were like, we
Okay.
didn't.
they were like, we don't have that one, and
Yeah.
so
I like that.
So they
They were like,
they'll
yeah,
put it on their wall or
they
whatever.
will.
And
They,
everything. Yeah.
they had a lot of them, and I didn't realize that,
Yeah.
and so I was like, well, that's kind of cool, and so. It's one of those things where if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. It's not like it takes up a lot of
St.
space.
George, they're at Zion Harley Davidson. They also traded.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
It was unfortunate when we did our cruise, our family vacation last year. We went through Catch Can, and then what was the other one we tried to get? No, we didn't do Catch Can. We did
no, we did that. Catch Cans where we hit Harley.
the Harley. But I thought we tried to do another one, but they did it was all out of season because we were there in October, and they're like, we don't have poker chips, we barely have shirts because
Is that a smaller shop?
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
size of this room.
Okay.
Well, no, the
That's
one
how
in
Maui was, dude. Maui had like 3 Harleys on the
Actually,
floor.
it was a big shop. It was just she was like, it's the end of
the season
Yeah.
everyone's been through because they have
they
a
only
bunch of different
yeah,
shirts
and they only order for
Yeah.
the
like,
season.
The season. And
Yeah.
we were like the last cruise, or we were second to the last cruise.
Yeah, they were like,
Okay.
And
we're sending stuff out with you guys. We're not bringing. You're not. Yeah, because New Orleans, their storefront that was something that a lot of my friends when I first started riding, they're like, yeah, I've been to Harley dealerships, but like they're dealerships, but they just have apparel.
Well, they're apparel shops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
Yeah.
different. It's an apparel.
It's
shop.
like Jamaica Harley.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
Bahama. I went to Bahama
Yeah.
Harley.
They
and
sell their shirts and poker chips or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Bahamas
kinda
did
neat.
not have poker chips.
really.
Yeah.
Well,
they were like,
we'll sell you this $50 shirt.
yeah,
Yeah.
And a
which
$50
I'm like,
hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were so the wife and I went through Tokyo and Kyoto, and Kyoto didn't have. They had independent shops, but they didn't have. And there was like in Tokyo, which was weird. And it might have been me not being able to research it the right way, but there was only a handful of like maybe actual dealerships because I was gonna get him a couple chips and a couple shirts. No, like they're all. You think we have weird hours where they're closed Sundays and Mondays? They were like, yeah, we're open at like 2:00 on like Thursday. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And I tried to look it up because like there's a lot of Harleys there. I'm like, well, clearly someone's selling them somewhere
Yeah.
here, but I can't find where to go get this T-shirt or chip at. But yeah, I was like, man, that's cool. I like the design on the red part of it too for the coloring.
It was the best looking one that they had, but
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Thank you, dude.
yeah. Yeah.
We need to do a ride sometime. Like
Yeah.
it would be probably an overnight ride, but there's one I want to do that I'm pretty sure one of the only places in the country that you can actually do this. And you can cross 5 state lines.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, you talking about Guyman? Like up
Yeah,
the 5-state
yeah,
run?
The 5-state run
Yeah.
where you can do it in 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
y'all done the 5-state run yet?
No, not yet.
I have done it on a bicycle.
Yeah, it's
Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
I see this.
That's Paul Bear.
This $5,000 or $10,000.
that thing was $800.
Oh, what is it? Oh, a Diamondback?
Yeah, it's a Diamondback.
I don't know much about them. I know that they can get up there.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
ridiculous.
his is that much, but
Yeah.
mine not.
Yeah.
I'm
I
50.
pay. Yeah, my road bike. I paid more for it than I did my sports.
Yeah, my uncle did this stuff. So he was a firefighter, and he's been retired for a while now.
Right.
But he did like the policeman firefighter Olympics.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
He was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
freak.
Cool. Yeah.
No, he was a freak. He actually won.
Hey man, we don't kink shame on this.
He won, no, well, he was. I'm talking a fitness freak, but
okay.
No,
Right.
he won the policeman firefighter Olympics. It's been several years, but it's funny because I can talk to a firefighter that has obviously never worked with him,
Right.
and they're like, "No, I've heard the legend."
Yeah.
And I can say
I've
it now,
heard
and
the
people
legend.
can. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I was like, really? No,
Yeah.
he's. If you look up David Trowbridge,
Oh.
and you can just Google him, and he's amazing dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that he was the one that first taught me about these things, and I was like, what? And he got into this, and he did the Ironmans and all that.
Yeah.
Well, he would get bored on some of the like riding the bicycle rides, so he like did one on a unicycle.
Yeah, he's got his Iron Man tattoo right
There you go.
Yeah. That was the one you did in Hawaii?
No. No.
Which one's that one?
Why the hell would you do an Ironman in Hawaii? You don't go there to.
Well, no.
No, that sounds
think you did
amazing.
one in
That's
Honestly,
the original. No, the
anything
original
in Hawaii
was.
sounds amazing.
It originated in Hawaii.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
Andrew.
Kona.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything.
It was between a Navy SEAL. It was 3 special forces. So it was the Navy
Okay.
SEAL, and I can't remember if it was. I think it was Delta, Army Delta, and then the Air Force Pararanger or paratrooper. And
Talk about it getting out of hand at the bar.
And they
started
were-
a triathlon after
well,
being
well,
arguing.
it was
Yeah.
it was I mean, it's basically dick measuring. I'm better than you. I'm better
Yeah.
than you. And so it was the run, the swim, and the ride. To
and that's
sea.
how it started.
And that's how it started.
That's cool as hell.
And and it started there, and then
the
it
veteran
kind of-
stuff from our country. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what started the MCs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How insane! Like,
yeah,
And, well,
thank the vets, but for multiple things,
Yeah,
right?
for lots of things, yeah.
right.
For not just the big thing and the sacrifice and
Yeah.
that, but for so much stuff. That's like
Yeah.
the whole challenge coin thing.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine brought me one. He flew C-17s in the Air Force, and he brought me these challenge coins, and I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
he's like,
and-
you don't want to know what I did to get these.
No, well, no, he's a pilot, so
Yeah, so they-
he
yeah.
now granted he flew he's flown the world so many times and all that stuff, but
Right.
hearing his stories and in fact I'll never forget he was in I think he was in Turkey 1 year, and this was like when he was first got his assignment to fly C-17s.
Right.
Skype was literally just getting like off the ground and like
Okay.
common.
Right.
Well, I set up a handful of computers at my house, and because he was over there. And his wife and all of our friends, eight or 10 of us are still real close from high
Right.
school.
Yeah.
So he could still be at our New Year's party while he was over there. So he thought that was cool as shit. And I was
Yeah.
like, Mike, it was awesome though, right?
When people talk about how nice Josh is,
No, I'm an asshole. I screw up and do nice stuff on occasion, but
screw up and do nice shit.
he was a guy that we grew up since we were like
Yeah.
8. In
Right,
fact, the first
right.
time I met him, his dad brought him to baseball practice on the back of a bike.
Oh.
And I was like, well, who's this cool asshole? And so I immediately, like at 8 years old, I immediately hated him because his dad brought him to practice on a bike. And I was like,
Right.
you dick.
Man, I thought that was going to be
And-
cool.
Yeah. And it's funny. The first practice, I also remember him telling me he was going to be a pilot, and he like a plane would fly over, because we live around Tinker, right?
Yeah.
And he'd tell me what it was. Like, you're full of shit.
Yep.
Like nobody knows the fuck
They call that one a
is.
skippy because it goes skip, 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 skip.
Well, no, he knew the actual name of it. And I was like,
Yeah.
nobody knows what those are.
I
no,
think there's a
he
syndrome
did.
for that
He does.
now.
Yeah. I was gonna build a plane, and like
Is this after your 5th grade experiment?
when
you almost lost an eye?
It may
Okay.
have been it may have been around at the same time. But
yeah.
I was like, because I always wanted to fly, and I had it out, so I was gonna build a plane, and like my parents live over in Choctaw, and Country Place Estates right there on Reno, and
Yeah.
and
So
so they're
safe in the back now.
no they're
What was that code?
their yard they live
What was your birth?
No, it's not that.
6'9", 6'9".
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And your dog's name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they live on an acre. Well, it's kind of up on top of it, hill, and so they've got like this one side of the yard is like real long and flat, and then it just drops off, and like a 10-foot drop kind of, and I was like, runway, built-in runway, and so I had it all like figured out, and so I was going to, my motor for this plane, I took apart my dad's riding lawnmower.
Hopefully one that wasn't currently being used.
I mean,
Or in service?
we only had the one.
Oh boy.
And so it's like, hey,
Jesus.
I'm home alone. Okay. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
To be fair, they would go like, we're going to go to the lake.
I'm going to
see you Monday."
repurpose this mower and fly away.
And I'm like,
and go to a better home.
I had it all figured out. I'm like, I could like,
Did you think about using one of the lawnmower blades as the prop?
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even if you don't make it into the air, you're still gonna have a good time. No one should be in front of me right now.
Yeah. And but so because I mean I was like 8 or 9, and like lay that bitch on its side. It's like
It'll do
boom,
it.
it'll do it.
It's going to do the work.
It'll do it.
Yeah.
I got my
I
ass,
get
I got
physics.
my ass beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
There's a reason why he hates you.
Lawnmower's disassembled. Yeah, there's a reason why he didn't let me drive the boat till I was like 42.
You're right.
I was just reading this thing.
That's impressive.
I mean,
that's impressive.
but that was
Well,
the
it-
same
I
way.
mean, that's
always
taking
wanted-
dumbass stories to another level. I like
right.
it.
Well,
That's
that's
the whole point of the podcast.
I love it.
That's undiagnosed
I did
autism.
some.
is
I
what
did
that is.
some dumb shit, but I didn't take anything apart.
My dad, we used to always just had we had a lot of junky stuff. So like when I was growing up, he's like, you're going to learn how to build a Briggs and Stratton. Like we go through, I take it all apart, put it back together again, make it run. And then like when we were done, it was bad. The crank was all messed up on it. So he's like, it runs. It's not going to be good. Bought another one. So I bought a crate motor out of the box. That was a new motor. And then I had to make sure the deck worked. So then I had to learn how to level the deck on the lawnmower. And then I had to make sure I learned how to sharpen the blade and do all this stuff. So I did all that. So when you're talking about this, I grew up in a machine shop too. So I was like, I want to build a helicopter. He's like, we can. You're not going to.
Yeah.
Because you don't need a helicopter.
Well, then, like my first car, I pulled it out of a barn in Meeker. I bought a 68 Volkswagen Bug for $300.
Okay.
And had to use come along to get it out of the barn.
Yeah.
And because my dad was like, "You're doing this," and I'm like, "Well, that's not what I want." And it was like, well,
He was like,
I don't care. And you're doing this, but the fucked up part of that is like my dad doesn't really work on cars.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not like he's like, "Come here, son. I'm going to show
gonna
you how
show
to
you.
do
Here's how
this."
you set the
He's
points.
like,
This is it.
Here
Yeah.
you go.
Enjoy.
And then I'm like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, shut up and do it.
Yeah.
And then like, you're going to paint it this color. And I'm like, I don't like that color.
He's
You
like, it's
know?
gonna be bright pink. Yeah. So when I was growing up, so I grew up building race engines with my dad. Like he grew up, he had been building like hot rods and then drag race motors and round and round motors and all that stuff when I was a kid. And so he was very prolific at it. And then so I was like, well, I want to build a 3rd gen Camaro because I wanted an IROC. I really
Yeah.
wanted one.
Yeah.
And he was like, whatever car you get, the first one's going to have a roll cage in it. And well, my sister's 5 years older and her first car was a Volvo 240
Okay.
that was wrecked and rear-ended. And so come along, we didn't pull it out with a come along, but
Right.
we had to use come along because the rear end always because it got rear-ended real bad. So I learned how to work on those. And so that was because my sister was like, I'm not going to do this. So he's like, here's how you do a wheel bearing. Here's how you
Yeah.
reset the third member in a rear end and all this stuff. So
Yeah, mine, we pulled it down. So my dad owned a trucking company and downtown. And so him and my grandpa, and they had a big shop where like they had all the truck mechanics would. And so it was in a corner there. And actually it was one of the truck mechanics was like, help
here,
me,
son,
help
let
me,
me, yeah.
help me. And
Yeah.
because he was big into Volkswagens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he was like, yeah, pull the engine out and like,
He's like,
you
4
know,
bolts. Here you go. Come out.
pretty much.
Yeah.
We bench pressed the engine out
Yeah.
of it. Like took
That's
the 4
crazy.
bolts loose and we're underneath it and wiggled it and it's like it drops out and you're like, ugh, scooching out with this laying
God
on your chest.
magnesium's
You know?
light. Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
yeah, I mean, but and it's like put it up and so I was 15 at the time and so I did everything on my first car, like took it down, dug all the rat's nest out, had to rewire it, had to do everything. And at the time I hated it. It was like, I
Been
did
there.
not.
It's funny how we're all similar age.
Yeah.
Like close.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's this story in 10 or 20 years with all these spoiled kids.
Yeah.
Which,
No.
which is
Yeah,
a,
no, I get
a
it.
positive and a negative,
Yeah.
right? But
Right.
I built my first car too with my uncle.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
72 Chevelle.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
When
you were
I was-
super cool your whole life.
No, no. I got this bucket and I was excited because it looked decent, but they
Right.
just slapped paint over
Yeah,
a
body
shit show.
filler, yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
panels are wavy.
and my dad was
Right.
like, you and your Uncle Bruce are going to knock this out. And that's what he did auto body in high school.
Right.
And built vets and all these cars. So he helped me. It took a year and a half.
Yeah.
So here I am with no cell phones, right? Because that didn't exist then.
Yeah.
Telling people that I have this Chevelle, and they're like, bullshit. And I'm like, I do.
Right.
And I don't lie. Like and I'm like, Dylan, tell him, Mike, tell him. So all my friends, because they helped work on it too. And they're like, no, he does. And they're like, whatever. Well, a year and a half later, so I was 16 and a half, I roll in with it, and everybody's like, oh. But we did the whole ground up, cut out the rust, molded in fiberglass, all that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Took a year and a half.
Yeah.
So for a 15-year-old kid, I know where you're coming from when you're like, damn it, I want some wheels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and it was funny because no bullshit. The shit I've learned has stayed with me my entire life. Just doing an oil change.
Yeah.
People now, it's like
Brakes in the front of your wife's car, I might, you might squeak them a little bit or something.
Depends on the car.
Yeah, it's her car, not mine.
I was like, you're going to have to do it this way. And he goes, cool, got it. And he's like, it's squeaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it, I told you.
Doesn't bother me. I don't hear it.
yeah, I'm aware. I heard it when you left, and when you came back, I was like, jack it up. Yeah.
But doing an oil change, or whatever, just changing something or being able to figure out, because it's like with having the Volkswagens, having old cars.
Yeah.
It's like an old house. Yeah, something's always going wrong.
100%. The carburetor on mine was a disaster.
You either have helicopter money to pay to have somebody come in and fix it,
right?
Yeah.
Or you fix it yourself because
and there was no YouTube back then. There was no. You had hopefully a good neighbor or somebody or in the family. My dad wasn't a mechanic. He had my grandpa or my uncle come work on stuff. And my dad's pretty handy. Like he's actually better with woodworking and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But made a living with woodworking for a while. But when it came to stuff like that, you couldn't look that up.
Yep.
I mean, well, I guess you had books, right?
I had like a 2-inch, the home owner's guide to, whatever. And it was like how to batch drywall, and you do it a couple times or you see
I didn't
somebody.
have that. I had one for the car though. I had one that was for Chevelle and El Caminos.
Yep. The Haynes manual.
Which I still have.
I all greased up and it's this page.
Right.
And
it's like the Harley has the climbers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the KZP they ran from 83 to 2005, pretty much unchanged other than a few little things.
Metric bikes are really good at that.
Yeah.
Suzuki's. There's a lot of things they haven't changed.
You're just like, they figured it out the first time. They really didn't need to. They perfected it. And that's really about it.
It's good enough. It's still outrunning the American bikes.
So I've been wanting one of the books forever, but they're, like $70-$80 online. And I don't really need it most of the time because I can kind of go through and here's a wiring diagram. Someone's uploaded it. Well, there was a dude on Facebook that had that one. And he was like, what was it? $10? $15, and that's right. I had a $10 bill in my wallet. I was like, "Will you take 10?" He's like, "I gotta get 15 out of this, man. I gotta get 15." I was like, "Okay, I gotta go to the ATM." And he's like, "Would you do 20?" No, you said 15.
Why are we going up here? That's not how this works.
Yeah, damn it. And so I'm not. It's not eBay. So I went over there and
he drank all the beer. He ran out of beer.
It was 9:00 in the morning. He's actually a really nice guy. He's really cool. He had a lot of really good bike knowledge. And then
that's awesome.
So then he goes, "How much cash you got on you?" I was like, "I don't know." And I'm like, $9. He's like, "Well, I have the valve adjustment tool for that bike, and this and this. Here you go." Oh. So I bought the last of his KZ 1000 stuff, which was 3 little items. Yeah. Working on cars as long as I have they call it the Bentley Bible. That was for the Volvo 240s. And then I have NGB. I have a bunch of, I used to just buy the Haynes and the Climbers and all that stuff because you'd go to high price books and they'd be like, "Oh, this is $1." So I have all these reference materials to cars I'll never own.
Right.
But it's cool to have.
But you like the books. Your library is going to look different than somebody else's.
Yeah, like my wife's half of the library is all Harry Potter, young.
Hey, don't knock Harry Potter.
No. I know. When I found out, I was like, you and the sheriff are going to be besties because you're going to be talking about the different Harry Potter theories.
Which I didn't embrace till after, I think I told you, I didn't embrace that till after college because I made fun of my friends for liking the nerdy stuff.
Yeah. Now, you didn't like...
Nerd. Oh. Dork. Worse words that are apparently frowned upon.
Yeah. We're not allowed to say those.
No, you'll get canceled these days.
But that like like my half is like I have a bunch of engineering like literature that's like civil and spatial and some other stuff. Like it's like from the turn of the century because I got it from another guy that died and he passed away. And so I was like, I have like this engineering book that's like practicum for like everything. And it's like from 1898. So we're redoing the library here. Like my wife's like, well, what do you have this? It's like, it's still handy. It's still cool. And when you open it up, you have to go, whew, all right.
It's relevant.
Yeah, it's still cool. But that's a killer for his car, dude.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
I got to pay for it. No, it was amazing. But you know, I had a Rochester Quadrajet was the carburetor that was a disaster.
Yep.
Right.
But every other day you're tuning it, and
yep.
I used every penny of my graduation money to have a buddy of mine who his name's Terry Creed. Him and his whole family, brother and mom, dad, they all raced.
Okay.
But I gave him every cent to build me a motor.
Yeah.
And which he did, it went from a stock 350 to I think it was like a 420 horsepower car.
Yeah.
Which was fun, right?
Yeah.
But it was one I didn't have to work on as much.
Yeah.
But still had to do. I mean,
You still have.
there's always something with those.
Yeah.
So I bought a second Chevelle done this time. Because
Okay.
I'm not doing all that.
Yeah. I've done it once. I don't need to do it again.
Yeah. Well, and I'll never forget when we found out my second child was going to be a girl. Because I was obviously, one boy, one girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose. Well, I guess you can't choose that
can
if you have the
choose,
money. But we got the results. I'll never forget. It was in January, and we got the results that our second kid was another girl, and I was like, okay. I'm buying my Chevelle. And she was like, what? And I tried finding my exact, I'm talking VIN.
Yeah.
And I tracked it to Ohio.
Okay.
And then it went cold. So I found one that was done, like completely done. Still need to work. But another 72, like
Right.
my baby again, right? And it was really cool, but I bought it so I would be in the garage and I'd get my guy space or whatever. And, my daughter, Zoe, my oldest, she was right there with me underneath the car.
Yeah.
When I had to change fuel lines or, change oil and stuff like that, she's right there with me. And I I complained about it for all of half a second. And it was in a joking way because I was like, I bought this to get me time, so because a house full of women, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I loved every second that she was right there with me. I'm talking like, I think she may have.
You're like, hold the flashlight better.
I mean, well, no, and I made that joke, right? Because
Yeah.
my grandpa, that was like my job, right?
Yeah.
Was to hold the flashlight, which I failed at.
Yeah,
Apparently, I was a
it doesn't
horrible
matter.
flashlight holder.
Right.
It doesn't matter. No one's good at it.
No, and
It's-
which I love that, and I miss that. My grandpa died, my uncle Bruce died that helped me build the car, but
I got to be a real bummer there. No.
no, right? Well, no, but the stuff that they taught us, right?
Yeah.
My grandpa's a big reason why I ride.
Right.
He gave me a ride on his Gull Wing back when I was I was in diapers. But it was cool seeing my daughter, go through the same thing that my grandpa kind of put me through, and same thing with my dad. We'd build a deck or something on our trailer house when we were growing up, and it was a nice trailer.
I did.
No, it was fancy. We built a real nice deck out front and then a 3-tier deck out back. But
That's pretty legit.
dang.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it was. We're doing it up,
Yeah.
but out there in New Walla. But anyway, but yeah,
No, see, I bought my daughter a toolbox. Like I didn't buy. I actually made her. So I was going through and I'm like, I have like 6 sets of tools. It's like 6 sets of ratchets, 6 sets of wrenches, and screwed. So I got a little toolbox, little metal toolbox, and like fixed her up with all the basic, like you got a set of sockets, a set of wrenches, metric.
There's no
SA
10 millimeter in
standard.
there.
No,
Right.
and like pliers, like everything basic tool set.
Yeah.
And and she actually used it. And then like when she got her car, it was like, when something needed to be done, it's like, come on, we're gonna change the oil. And so, I'd make her help me and watch and like change the tire. You're gonna help me and watch. And so I'm like, look, you're at a point you're going to be at a point where I want you to know how to do this. Doesn't mean you have to,
right.
Yeah.
but
Hopefully you never have to.
hopefully you never have to. And
But
if
you
you get
need
a
to know.
flat, you can call me. And if
Right.
but if I'm not around, or
Right.
if I'm at some point in your life, if you need something done and you take it somewhere and they're like, oh, your blinker fluid,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Right.
be like,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Right.
It's not a BMW. We don't use blinker
Yeah,
fluid.
right. Well, and that's what I was like. It's like, it's one thing to have a choice.
Yeah.
Like if I can have it fixed, or, you know, if I'm broke down, like I kind of know it's this, but
Yeah.
I need somebody to fix it.
It's
Or
a basic life skill.
yeah. Where you
should be.
you don't,
Yeah.
like you said, in 10 years from now, you know, we're raising a lot of kids these days are going to be victims.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because it's like the parent thing. You want your child to have better than you.
Sure.
But at the same time,
There's just a downside to it.
there's
that
a
we're realizing.
downside to that
you-
is they don't know how to do things. And,
Right.
you know, and when I was, so my daughter's grandfather, my ex-wife's dad, his,
I got next.
he was a banker. So, and his dad used to do everything. Like he was like the handyman, could do all the work on cars, work on the house, work on everything. And, you know, he wanted his kids to go better, send them to college. Well, you know, I could do woodwork and like working on a house, you know, it's like, going in under the sink and change a valve, you know, and it's like doing this and that. And, you know, he would just sit there and look at me like, well, I don't, you know, I'd have to call a plumber. I don't know what to do. And it's like, I mean, I learned a lot of that was out of necessity because I was poor, you know, and the reason I bought a house when I did back in the early 90s was because I couldn't afford to rent an apartment, but I could afford to get a mortgage, which makes no sense.
Yeah,
but it's
gotta
like
love it.
my first house payment with taxes and insurance was $375. Yeah. The apartment was $700.
Yeah.
You know, and
Right.
so it was like I was gonna have to have roommates.
Yeah.
But no, so it's like, well, it was an 80-year-old house over behind Bishop McGinnis. And
But you know how to get it right, though.
yeah.
The
and-
world needs both. You know, the world needs people that are handy and can take care of stuff.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the world needs people that don't, so they can pay the ones that do, right?
Yeah.
The world needs both. It's just we've shifted away from people knowing how to do the basic stuff.
Yeah.
you know? And-
Absolutely.
And in a way, it's a good thing, because think about how far we've come, or how much better we'll just say quality of life
Yeah.
is than our grandparents and great grandparents. You know, those people had a rough go.
Yeah, like my grandmother, the one that was still alive when I was a kid, grew up during the Depression. So her parents owned a grocery store over off the south side, over by like original, like south of downtown Oklahoma City.
You know what the best thing about the Depression was?
What?
Great soup.
But so I was like, well, so what they would do is they would have the cans of food that were out on the shelf. So the first couple of cans actually were filled, and then as they would sell stuff out, and then at the end of the day, they would go and get like the 1 or 2 cans, and I think my grandmother had like 5 or 6 siblings, and then the 2 parents. So they would go through and put the empty can at the back that they used for dinner the night before, try to sell enough the next day to hopefully resupply the stock and all that stuff. Well, when she passed away, I was a little kid, so she had these leather shoes she'd worn pretty much most of her adult life. And I was like, looking at my dad, I'm like, man, these have holes and everything in it. And he's like, yeah, she bought them once, and she would put newspaper in it to like where it wore out in the sole, or she had it resold like 2 or 3 times. And then she learned how to. So she had a dry cleaning business, and it was solely because she learned how to be a seamstress to make clothes for her and her siblings.
Yeah.
And then ran a dry cleaning business because she didn't really want to do complete alterations. She wanted to just kind of clean, but like she did that. I mean, she was really, really handy. She was not taking shit from nobody on any of that stuff. But then, then I have like my aunt, her direct child, is like, I don't know anything. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do anything.
Yeah,
I buy a new house every couple of years and all this stuff.
My great grandfather, I remember he had all these tools and he could work on things. His toolbox, like, we have you have the big snap-on toolboxes, or the big, Craftsman, or
I don't.
Vault
I
or whatever.
have my $200 Craftsman.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
If you got in the garage, I can do a lot of work with all my crafts and stuff.
Right,
there.
right.
Yeah.
But his toolbox like that, the big one that didn't move, they had like this wooden carport that he had built, was an old refrigerator.
Okay.
He would open it up, and like
That was
all
his
his
toolbox?
tools were like they were either hanging
Yeah.
on the wall, or like it was in there. But it was like everything got used,
Yeah.
and he would work on people's stuff and
Yeah.
fix it. And then, like I'd have to, because they lived down in southeastern Oklahoma. So I'd go down and spend summers down there, and, we'd have to help, work the garden. And I remember he was like, doing his tomato plants, and because they would sell, they would keep some for them, but they would also go sell produce and whatnot. and he was like, yeah, from eggs he would have scrambled eggs and brains for breakfast, calf brains. That was his favorite breakfast. Had it almost every day. It was
I'm
like,
what? Every time you talk about it, I'm always like,
no.
dude, I can't do the brain thing.
As a kid, I'm like, no.
The eggs I'm fine with. The brain, I'm like, ugh.
And it was like all he ever drank was coffee, black coffee. And so
All he ever smoked was Marlboros.
no, it was Prince Albert in a can.
Okay.
Actually.
All
He
right,
smoked a pipe.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was cool.
Yeah. But he he's crazy because he was born in 96.
Jeez.
And he passed away. I think he was 98 when he passed away.
Okay.
But he lived a full
that was
fucking life.
Yeah, my grandmother
Think
was.
of all the stuff he saw.
Oh no!
And
Some of
grew
the
up
stories were insane.
he saw someone go to the moon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But after doing and living how he was first raised and stuff,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
he
his-
went from
all the changes.
So
no
his-
indoor plumbing.
His mother died when he was, I want to say 6, maybe.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna pause it just real fast.
All right.
And we're back. Intermission. Brief intermission. So your grandfather's mother died when he was 6.
Yeah. So she died giving birth to his brother. So
welcome back.
yeah. Shitting out a kid.
Yeah.
And so it was him, his brother, and his dad, and they, and then his dad passed away like 6 years later. So the brother my great grandfather was 8 and his brother was 6. So they lived in Mena, Arkansas.
Okay.
And this is back, it was before Oklahoma State. So it was like,
You're
what was it? It had been 1904.
yeah, your family and my family, we're all hanging out. in
Yeah.
Mena.
So this motherfucker.
So I did all the ancestry. Our family camped in Mena for like 10 years. And then,
No shit.
Yeah, like
That's a small world.
yeah, like
Weird.
I had
I
all the
don't-
ancestry records for it.
Anyway, they
Yeah.
went to, when his dad passed away, they were sent to like these
Work
an aunt's
camp?
house. No,
Yeah.
it was it was 2 aunts, and basically to go live with.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that like they did not like the ants, and
No.
they thought, or him and his little brother thought, the ants were going to poison him, like kill him. And
I mean,
so they
probably fairly legitimate at the time.
so they ran away
yeah.
in the middle of the night, and they walked. This 1904, and at 8 and 6, mind
Yeah.
you, they walked from Mena, Arkansas, to they made it to Ravia, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And now it took him a while because he like
Yeah.
Well, and
I mean, that's baby steps.
that's baby steps. Yeah, no shit. But they actually stopped, and he said, they would like stay at houses along the way, and people would like feed them, and he was like talking about how like some people they got basically captured,
Oh.
like in like servitude,
Yeah.
where it was like, no, you're gonna work the field,
Yeah.
and like we fed you.
It's free labor
have to-
walking down the street
Right.
or
Yeah.
road, I
And-
guess.
Yeah.
because he was talking about like, and this is like I'm sitting here because it's that time I'm like 8 or 9, and
He's
I'm
like,
you
talk about how hard your life is. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the fuck? But he was talking about how they had to like run, and like people were like hunting them, chasing them, trying to get them back,
Yeah.
and they were hiding out, and like he was like, yeah, we found some places that were really nice and some places that weren't, and they ended up in Ravia. That I guess they had family there, but it was like, you did what? And like just the life that motherfucker lived. But
Yeah.
he knew all the like when we would have to plant, we would have to get his garden ready to plant, and he would be like, yeah, my great grandmother would save the eggshells from the eggs, save coffee grinds, and so when he was like, the way I do my tomatoes, because he was kind of known for his tomato plants,
Yeah.
and so we would have to go down and we would catch like sun perch. And because they lived in Tishomingo at the time, so we would go to Pennington Creek, and we would catch these fish, and then he would come back, and when we'd dig out the holes for these tomato plants, he would put a handful of eggshells, a handful of coffee grounds, and a perch.
Okay.
And then he would plant his tomato plants on top of that.
His own unique fertilizer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's because they didn't have fertilizer,
Right.
like commercial fertilizer.
No,
but
that's
he
his
was
own-
basically making fish meal fertilizer.
Right.
Because you've got calcium, you've got from the,
The nitrogen.
eggshells, the nitrogen from the coffee grounds, and then the fish is, like fish meal.
Yeah.
And then he would
That's crazy.
And he was like, but he was kind of known because
Yeah.
he had the best and the biggest tomatoes and all this other stuff.
He had a formula to.
He had
yeah.
a formula
Yeah.
what would work, but it was like the way they knew everything, and they used to can, and I mean we'd have to snap beans and
I remember snapping beans. My grandparents taught.
Yep.
They had the garden, and they were off of 65th and Western.
right.
Was their house when they settled here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
But so my dad, he couldn't wait to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what does he do? He gets I don't know, like a 100-foot or 150-foot garden, by
Right.
like 50. Well, I got to, and of course I complained about it.
Right.
I had to go work
Right.
the garden.
Yeah.
And because I'm this lazy, piece of crap kid who's,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know how good I had it, even though I make jokes about being poor and living in a trailer. And,
Right,
and
right.
Mind you, we upgraded from the single wide to the double wide.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when they took the single wide away and delivered our new one. I was like, twice as much room.
Yeah.
But we took advantage of having the garden. My parents still to this day have a garden, and obviously a little bit nicer house and stuff like that. But I let my girls go pick the garden, and they have fun with it. Because my parents make it a fun thing for them.
Yeah.
I would get grounded, and I would have to go work the damn garden and shovel
Yeah.
shit literally.
Yeah.
But
That was growing up, my dad and I, he worked for FedEx. He was gone a lot during the day. And then whenever he would get home, it was like we had his rental properties. And so I had to go work over there. So I knew how to drywall and plumb and do not great at any of this because he's not particularly great at any of it. But, but I learned all that stuff. And like now, so when we bought this house, my wife was like, well, I want to do this, and this. Can we do that? I'm like, yeah, we're not moving a wall. Like,
Right.
still,
Yeah.
you knew what to do, so
Yeah.
you knew.
Okay, we need
what
to
it
do this,
entailed.
and this,
Yeah.
and all that. And like, so we made the compromise when we bought the house. I was like, we're not moving in until it's ready to move in. And she's like, well, that's going to take a year. And I'm like, that's probably going to take, a month. Because I laid all the floors. I did all the trim. And I redid a bunch of the wiring, like the small stuff.
Yeah.
Plumbed a bunch of stuff. And she's like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, well, I mean, your grandmother probably knows something that you learned. And she learned how to cook really well from her grandmother. She didn't think she did. She was like, I don't know how to cook. And when I first met my wife, she's like, I don't know how to cook. I'm like, boil water and put spaghetti in it. Like you put the noodles in there and you'll be fine. Well, then she'll now that we've gotten older, she's like, oh yeah, I remember this recipe and this is how she taught me how to do this. And so then now we don't have kids, but I have my nephew from my sister. And now when my dad's like, oh, well, come on over here, Odysseus. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the oil change on this today. And it's so nice because he's like, oh, you don't have to worry about the flashlight. I can kind of see. I'm like, I remember getting shit thrown at me.
Yeah.
Like now,
smacked in the back of the head.
you remember
What the fuck's wrong with you?
So the full circle of this is
You damn boy's retarded.
Yeah,
I swear
yeah.
he can't hold a
You
flashlight.
dripped out of your mother's ass.
so my first car, Ingrid's outside. I daily drove her. I bought her when I was 12. I daily drove her from 16 till I was about 18 because when I met my wife, she's like, it's got no interior, no AC. I don't like this. So I liked her enough that I kept the car, but I got another car. So then fast forward 14 years and we were going to go do this.
She touched your wiener, and you're like, whatever you want, dear.
My baby wants AC. She's getting AC.
Yeah.
You want seatbelts? You're getting seatbelts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my dad found the car for me in Clinton or wherever it is out like Eric or not. It's way out by the Oklahoma Texas border, and he's out there delivering. He's like, I found the Volvo you're gonna go out and get. I'm like, okay. He's like, it's got AC. She'll love it. I was like, all right, thanks, dude. So we're getting my first car ready for this rally down. It's called Italy to Paris, and I had not had the car out of storage for 14 years. So you got to go through we were getting the brakes bled, going through the motor and all that stuff. So I was like, hey, could you come over? Because I had to go put it back to points and condenser for the ignition. And I was like, hey, could you come over and help me with this? Because I've done it. It's just been 15 years ago. And he's like, yeah. So he comes over and I was like, I want to do it. Don't mess with it. Like, just help me. And he's like, all right. So he's holding the flashlight. Well, he's being like me when I was a kid, where he's like, what's that over there? What's that over there? And I, as a 33-year-old man, I looked at my dad and said, do you want to hold the flashlight the right way, or do you want to get yelled at? Right. And he's hard of hearing. And I said it loud enough. He goes, what'd you say? I said,
Did I stutter?
I said, let me say it one last time. Do you want to hold the flashlight right, or do you want to get yelled at? And he goes, I'll hold it right.
Right. You're going to bed without dinner, mister.
He tried. I don't remember what it was. It was like probably 6 or 7 months after we bought the house, and we're having him and my stepmom over, and I said some joke, and he was like, I should ground you for that. And I was like, you can get the fuck out of my house. None of your bills are paid over here. You're not on anything over here. It's my house.
It's crazy how that's turned.
Yeah.
How the turntables have turned.
I got to see that with my great grandpa, and I think he died at 100, 101.
He had a pretty good run.
He had a really good run.
Yeah.
And my dad's, till this day says he never once heard him raise his voice. Never, not one time.
You're like, where does that drop off, Dad?
Not one time. But it was at some family thing before Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. And he's sitting in my grandpa's chair. And mind you, my grandpa was, I think, in his 60s at the time. And he's sitting in my grandpa's chair. So my grandpa, who was kind of like whatever he wanted, we made happen because he's grandpa.
Yeah.
Well, he's bowing down to his father as he should. He gets his chair. Nobody sat in grandpa's chair. And then I remember talking with great grandpa, and he goes, so has Marvin taken you fishing recently? I was like, no, it's been a while. And at the time I was playing like travel ball and stuff. So I was old enough that it wasn't my grandpa's fault, but he goes, Marvin Lee, you better take that boy fishing. I'm going to whoop your ass, or said something and my grandpa, I shit you not, my grandpa's like, yes, sir. I'm talking and he was kind of just giving him a hard time, but my grandpa was like, yes, sir. I'm talking 65 years old, still had that level of respect, still was like, yes, sir. Like you could tell, yes, dad.
Yeah. No, like me and my
that's awesome.
Me and my dad, like we've gotten to the point now where like we're both when I was younger, I can understand how much of an asshole I was to deal with. Yeah. And now I'm like, no, you don't just because you bird me, you don't just get everything. Like he wanted to take my truck to go do a bunch of stuff with. I'm like, no, man, like that's my vehicle. Yeah. And it's cold. I can't ride the motorcycle. Because that's what he's like, you ride the motorcycle everywhere. When applicable.
Right. Yeah.
But also I have rental properties. I can't just take 2x4 on the motorcycle. Right. I mean, I can. It's not my finest work, but
it's not the safest thing to do.
No.
Yeah, my dad, he where I'm at the age now where he'll kind of like, he might say something where before I would always kind of like, you don't talk back to, I was raised, you don't talk back to your parents.
Right.
Like, and
you do once.
You do once.
Get your head spun around.
Yeah. And so like, like I'm at the age now, he'll pop off and say something, and I'm like you're in my house. Like,
that's
different rules. Right. But he said something one day. It was that kind of passive aggressive shittiness, and I just kind of looked at him and I said, "You do know I'm picking your nursing home, right?" I'm like, you better watch what you're saying.
Right. Think about that.
Yeah. Like. He didn't really say anything, and like a couple days later, he's like, "That really kind of hurt my feelings." Yeah, and I'm like, "Same."
Right.
Mine spouted off about something one time, and I just kind of went, we're old enough now, we can talk about boundaries. And he's like, we ain't talking about a lot sale. And I'm like, no, we're setting a boundary right now. I don't do this to you, and you're not doing it to me. He goes, well, that's not fair. I'm like, I don't care about fair. It is actually fair.
Life's not fair.
Yeah, I was like, life was not fair for
Let me tell you something, son.
Yeah. He was like, do you not remember me and your mother being married? It was not fair. I'm like, yeah, that's why I didn't do that again. I'm like, I broke the generational curse.
Right. So now, did you grow up in Newalla?
Yeah. So I grew up
was Brian
in McLeod.
Brian from the Chop Shop, his mother was a school teacher out there.
What's his last name?
Nickel.
I forget.
Mrs. Nickel.
I
think she taught second
grade.
So
did you go to McLeod?
I did. Graduated from McLeod. Yeah.
Okay. Because you have cousins or somebody went to Choctaw. Because there were some.
Where did Jeff?
Or no, it was It was not Dewberry. It was Dewberry.
There's a Dewberry that I've seen that has some chiropractic clinic, but there are some Dewberries, but I think they were from Edmond.
Okay.
Those are the only ones I've met. When I was in college, I worked at Blockbuster for all the the youngins listening to this
Yeah,
I know what the hell
yeah.
it is.
You used to
but,
rent the VHS movies there.
yeah. And the first ever non-family member Dewberry I met, I'll never forget. And I can say his name, right? Because
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
But so it was a black guy
Yeah.
named Russell Dewberry, and he handed me his ID because he was getting an account or whatever at our store. And I look at it and I was like, bullshit. And he was like, what? And I take my ID out, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And I hand it to him.
I've been using your fake ID forever,
Yeah.
man.
Well, and I hand him mine, and he goes, my brother from another mother. I was like, holy shit. I was like, legit the first Dewberry that I've ever met that wasn't family.
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently his family was from Georgia and whatnot.
Okay.
And I did the whole ancestry bullshit,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of the Dewberry family would, like, when they first came over from wherever,
Yeah.
that was where.
They settled that.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Okay, Andrew Jackson.
Yeah. Right.
dude.
But I was like, that's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So when I was
I had-
growing, oh, sorry.
I had a guy when I was in the military, and I was, God, where was I? Mississippi.
Biloxi.
Some it was, and I'm
I know
walking through, and it's an old it's an old guy, and he's like, do you know you're like, you know, civilian at this time, because he was old, but he was like, do you know your family history? And I was like, I mean, a little bit. I'd heard from my grandfather, you know, and like came over from France, you know, and so he's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, and talks about there were two brothers that came over, and one stayed in Virginia, and then the other one kind of went into the interior. Well, we're from the one that went into the interior, and he just so happened he was also a Moppin, and he was from the one that stayed in Virginia, and so starts telling me about like all this other stuff,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and like
He's like, your
there's
family history is
town-
real
yeah.
tattered.
But I was
Not-
like, I was like just random,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like walking by, and he had saw my name tape on my uniform and was like, hey, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know,
it's a unique last name, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
not
yeah,
that
yeah.
many
There's not
Moppins.
that many.
well,
I mean,
and the best part is when people, because
there
I
used to be less. Now it's like there's billboards with
Yeah.
my name everywhere.
I see those all
And no
all over the
rela-
place.
no relation. None.
Everyone goes,
You ain't got that billboard money, huh?
Yeah.
no. Everyone
I
always like, can
wish.
you get him to get me a roof for cheap? I'm like, wrong one.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like, sure can. Just go along with it.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
I just want to go in there one day and just like start like I'm
Dad?
here to work, you know.
That's what you should do. We're gonna go film it. So my last name is Thompson, and so there's a fairly large community of us here, but like I have aunts and uncles I haven't met because there was like a riff in the
It's
family.
like the whitest name ever.
I know. Well,
My name is Smith.
now buckle up though.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. So
It's how far back you go.
so then I go out to Northeast, so it's predominantly black high school and middle school, and we start making this joke because there's a bunch of black guys that were going to school there and black girls, and they were all last name Thompson, and I'm like, are you guys kinfolk to me? And then I like no shit.
That's just from a little part of innocent ignorance, we'll say, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and
Sure.
I start telling them about like where I'm from, and like then they're like, oh, because I'm a white guy, they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're probably loaded. I'm like, fuck no, my shoes have holes in them. Like I remember getting fucking ridiculed in gym in 7th grade because my boxers had holes in them. So like I was the poor white kid. But then I had like I'll run into people that I went to high school with, the friends, and they'll like have Thompson's last name, and I like that's my cousin.
Yeah.
It's my cousin Cody over there. And I'm like, that's my cousin. I'm trying to think of what the last one I ran into. It was not Tatiana and maybe Shaniqua. But like, and like people are like, are you guys actually related? Like, oh yeah, it's married in. I married
right.
into their family.
Yeah.
But okay, so now we're talking about, now we sidetracked so much, but we were talking about the event stuff earlier.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big blind spot for a lot of people about what Lawtigers does, because they obviously see the commercials. If you're injured in an accident, now we know about the speeding ticket thing. But if you need a will written too,
The wills, estates,
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah,
One stop.
There's a lot the firm can do. Well, and that's the thing. They can call me or message us.
Yeah.
However, on Facebook, Lawtigers
Or-
Oklahoma.
All of our listeners, you could be a menace to your family, give them one last gift, and let them figure it out.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's how my dad's doing.
Which and I've actually heard quite a few horror stories about that recently about the whole
Yeah.
wills and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, they can reach
I
out to us and we can find something for them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even if we don't do it in house,
You can help.
they're gonna know. Well, so those 4 lawyers all graduated from OU Law.
Okay.
So it's not like they don't know anybody. And,
Yeah.
and especially when I talked about Chris earlier about how, he was the OU football player. Well, not only that, but he was on a show called Amazing Race.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
So he's
was
kinda
also
somewhat-
on another show called Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he knows the right people, and because he gives a shit about his craft, right? About being a good lawyer.
Yeah.
He's constantly staying up on everything new, and he knows the right kind of people that even if we don't practice it in our own house, we'll say,
Yeah.
he knows somebody that can help him.
And I think that's really so that as a service is monumental because that's something a lot of people need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the other side of this, and this is something that I learned with helping with Edmund Bike Night when we were doing that, is obviously you see your logo out on a lot of different stuff, but the amount of events that you guys personally make sure like you're involved with and you help sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not because a lot of people will say, "Oh, I see Lawtigers in other states." And
Sure.
like, yeah, or they'll do an event, and I see the
Yeah.
the tent that says Lawtigers on it. But
Yeah.
you personally help with so many different events.
Yeah. So it's well over 200 a year. I can't track it all now
Okay.
because I'm that busy.
Right.
And so during the week I go visit dealerships and service shops.
Yeah.
That's what I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's an admin day today.
Yeah.
Saturdays
This
are
is
event
actually
days.
on Saturday. Don't.
Right. Yeah. Saturdays are event days, and obviously bike nights are event days. And I've helped get a few of those bike nights launched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm just a small cog in that, but because of all that I've done, I've learned, a lot of things that help make an event successful.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And I can just throw out my advice to whoever is either wanting to do the event or is asking me, proper steps to take. And I just throw them information that I've learned, and they can do with it what they will, and it may or may not work for every
Right.
situation or
Right.
town or whatever. But yeah, so that's the event thing is it's overwhelming.
Yeah. I don't think,
And amazing.
I don't think a lot of people really like have ascertained like there's a lot of events that maybe not saying that they wouldn't have happened, but it definitely makes things easier for the promoter, for the event runner, or an organizer that if you weren't involved, that it may not work as well, or it may not be as big, or it may not be as fun, or it may not happen as often. And you guys really
I think it is nice to see the amount of events has steadily been increasing and quality of events.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, not just,
Hooters Bike Night.
or, bike
yeah.
night at, Chopper Hoppers or,
Right.
or
Your bar bike night thing where
right.
it's half at.
But you're actually seeing like big organized events that are, getting to where they're self-sustaining and, like actually having things to do,
Yeah.
where
Right.
you can go check out this bike night, and it's like
Yeah.
we're like Shawnee, where I mean, the whole community, kind of the town, the city and everything is involved in that. And I think that's been why it's been such a big success.
That's a huge success.
Yeah.
So I made jokes with Toolbox, and he's the big reason, right?
Right.
I made jokes with him, and because I'm from that area,
Right.
I graduated McLeod, played baseball, in college, in Shawnee, and I would tell him like, man, and I know that area well,
Right.
obviously, and I was like, man, why don't we have a bike night? And he remembered a time, and he's like, man, there used to be a long time ago.
Right.
Back whenever, when you bought a Harley in the 90s, you didn't pick the color. You said, I want a Softail, put money down, and they told you when one came in and you got that color, that kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
So my Uncle David, by the way, the one I talked about, the firefighter,
yeah.
that's kind of what happened to him.
Yeah. He's like,
But-
I didn't want it to be pink.
Well, I think he got lucky enough that I think he did get it the color he wanted. But anyway, so there hadn't been in a long time. So I was like, well, dude, and he's so busy because
Right.
it's him and TC.
Yeah.
TC's the guy that does most of the wrenching, just because Box is running the front of the house, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I talked to him, and finally he said, hey, I think I want to do this. How do I do it? And I was like, look, I can't plan it. I don't have that time because it's a big effort.
Right,
But
right.
we can sit down and we'll have a meeting and I'll give you can pick my brain as much as possible because I don't even know what questions you need to ask.
Right. Right.
And because at the time I there's a lot that goes to it. So we sat down, we met with the owner, his name's Johnny, of Sancha Anchos, which was a
Right.
place there in Kickapoo or off Kickapoo. And we went over everything. And I was like, he wanted to do a bike night that was on a day that on Saturday, he would compete with so many other events. I was like,
Right,
that's a
okay.
horrible day for a bike night.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like, why? I was like, because I have 7 events that day, like this coming Saturday.
yeah.
You're diluting the waters too much.
It's too much. I was like, it needs to be during the week. And so there was a bunch of things like that. And he was like, oh, that's okay. That makes sense.
Right.
Because he's so busy. He's a wizard, when it comes to running. He's Toolbox, right? The
Right.
dude's a legend. And so I kind of just helped get that off the ground. I was like, look, I will promote this. I'll promote the hell out of it. I'll do
Right,
everything I can
right.
to help it succeed. And it did. Now since because that guy works his tail off.
Right.
He does his own promoting.
Yeah.
And then, he wanted to have bands and he wanted to do make it big.
Right.
Yeah, he
And-
didn't want just a hangout.
No. Well, in the first one, the weather wasn't great, which Oklahoma weather, right?
Yeah, you
So
can
it
never
was cold
guarantee.
and wet. And we still had 150 bikes or something,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't have because of the weather, if you think about it.
Right.
People showed up.
Yeah, well,
Right.
people are excited about that
Well,
kind of stuff.
for the
So
longest
excited.
for the longest time, it was Hooters. They're on 240.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
then you had an idiots that kind of fucked that up.
Yeah.
And it went away. And then for years, a decade almost,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there
You'd have your
outside
big
of-
I think. Well, you wouldn't have a consistent bike night.
No,
that wasn't
no,
like a
there
bar
was-
bike
there
night.
really
Yeah.
was-
Not that wasn't at a bar.
Yeah, 'cause-
at a bar, everybody had their own
Everyone,
little weekly-
every bar to some extent has.
Right,
Well, most bars, if parking allows, they have a bike night.
Sure.
And that's cool. It's nice because then you
But
get
it
to
was
go hang out.
Sure.
But
it was not like where you'd have 300 bikes, like
Yeah.
the Hooters was. There was it was you might have 20 bikes. You might have 50
And they were
bikes.
all from within 7 miles of the place, right?
Yeah.
yeah, because
Not we had people at the Shawnee Bike Night that would come from, literally, not kidding, come from Tulsa.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it was at that, from Tulsa
Yep.
to Shawnee is
Yep.
what, an hour and 15 minutes, depending on what part of Tulsa
Yep.
you're from.
And then-
or Tulsa area.
yeah.
Hollywood Corners started trying to do one when
Which I need to talk to them because I would love to help them get one going because
Yeah.
we
It's
need
actually
one on
an-
the south side
it
of
was-
town.
it was-
I'm going to text you about that right now. I know who runs that.
Okay.
So-
Well, I mean, I have, well, unless it's changed. I think
It's
her name's Jennifer.
So
Was one of the girls. Anyway, but we
yeah.
can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and I love seeing those things succeed.
Yeah,
And I took a lot of pride in that because that's kind of where I'm from, right?
right.
And but anyway, it ended up working. And like I said, Toolbox, that guy, he's a workhorse.
Yeah.
And then we moved it to the casino because Sancho Ancho's closed. And, the tribe got behind it.
Yep.
And we're like, hey, we're going to help do this. We're like, great. And some things happened that ended up closing that location
yeah.
down. And then a guy named Shannon reached out to me. And I didn't know this time, but he reached out to Toolbox first and saying, hey, I want to get this going.
Right.
Because I think we went a few months without it. But luckily it was towards the fall and winter.
yeah, so you can kind of make up for.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
that big a deal. But then, and Shannon reached out at a good time, and I said, "Look, I'm going to help you, no matter what. I'm going to help you, but I would really, really, really strongly encourage you to get Toolbox in. I really don't want to do this without him." He goes like, "It's fine. I know Toolbox. He's already in." I was like, "Oh,
Okay,
sweet,
yeah. Now you know it's good.
Right.
100%."
Right.
Because
Right.
Toolbox, so and Shannon, at the time anyway, not anymore, but him and he was part owner of a tattoo shop there on Bell Avenue. So and so Shannon did all the legwork, and they already knew the local businesses
Yeah.
and the people at the city, and the city shockingly was behind it. So I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be amazing.
Well, and I think for Shawnee, it's an hour ish, 45 minutes away from Oklahoma City. It's not like way, way, way out there. It's basically Norman.
It's because
It's a
you're
little
on the
further
west
than
side.
Norman.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like 30 minutes from the center
Yeah.
of Oklahoma City. So from downtown Oklahoma City, it's
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
minutes.
So it's not like out there, but
No.
like they don't, I mean, they have the balloon festival at the casino, but they don't really have a tremendous amount of stuff that's in city center. So whenever you have somebody that's saying, hey, we're going to put on an event that might have 100 to 300 people that show up.
Mm-hmm.
And when the city's behind it, well, they're eager for it too.
Yeah.
And you get that promotion and help from the city, that makes that event so much more special too.
It helps, and the place, the stars kind of align a little bit too, in the sense that they were okay with us shutting down the area because a lot of those businesses are closed.
Yeah.
So we're not stepping on toes. We're not disrespecting
right.
people trying to
The
make a living.
dentist's office is like, I can still get patients in.
They don't because the bike night starts at 6. They close. Everybody closes at 5 or whatever. But then the places that are open are like Coney Island or whatever, the little hot dog joint. And so places that are also benefiting from this.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, do it. There's the Brick House Saloon, and she's been awesome at helping things, get going and helping cover some of these expenses as well.
Right.
But it's also just bringing her a crap ton of business.
Yeah.
Right.
Where
right.
on Thursday she was not bringing an additional 500 people, in.
Yeah.
And so you're talking bikes. There's people in the community that don't even ride showing up
Yeah.
Yeah.
just because they want to see all the motorcycles. And motorcycles, let's just face it, they're cool.
They
Yeah.
are kick
Yeah.
ass.
Well, there's a reason why we've all owned several and still do, right?
Yeah.
And not to mention the freedom behind it and all these other plethora of reasons. But everybody loves them.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you go to a parade ride and and there's kids out there, they want to hear them, they want
Right.
to feel it,
Right.
that
Rev it up!
they all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And
Well, all the-
you don't got to twist arm to do it.
All of us that walk around it. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh.
Ooh, look at that exhaust. Look at that.
Oh,
yeah.
it's insane.
It's
You're like working like Fort Smith, working the Steel Horse. My head, like I didn't want to look at a motorcycle after working that event for a while
Right.
for about 24 to 48 hours because my head was still ringing.
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so where you're set up at down there.
Yeah.
You got buildings all around you, so it's just
Yeah.
bouncing in your head
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
It's like, all right, that's cool, that's easy.
Calm it down. Go over there.
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
but it's amazing, and
Yeah.
and it's cool seeing the kids that are there, walking by and seeing their faces light up and like, oh my god,
Yeah. This
they
is
can't
amazing.
believe it.
Yeah.
yeah. It's. I mean,
That was a pretty surprising thing with Edmond Bike Night when it was at the rail yard. Like you had a lot of people that would just, because there's all the kind of little downtown stuff that people would just show
awesome
up.
spot.
Yeah.
Now getting
Yeah.
to it was less than awesome, but again, that's where we
Yeah.
kind of have the stars aligning, right?
Yeah.
Shawnee is you can skirt. It's harder for you to skirt where you live, but
Yeah.
but you can skirt around. We'll say traffic problem areas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah.
You can go a bunch of different ways to get there. So you enjoy your ride there, you enjoy your ride home.
Right.
There's safer, ways and
right.
safer
Right.
roads to get there. But the area going through 235 to 2nd Street, at
yeah.
5 p.m.
Yeah.
was
Well, and we
Yeah.
would
Takes you 20 minutes to go 4 miles.
well, right. Well, and that particular stretch of
Yeah.
road is
Yeah.
not. It's
and
not
you're,
safe.
And you're worried if you're going to get sandwiched between somebody coming
It-
off 235
right.
and are they going to see me and hit the brakes or
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of lanes. There's a lot of people. It's so where I live. I'm fortunate enough to, from where I live, I would shoot up to 66.
Yeah. And come over
And then
that
come
way.
down that way. That way, I would avoid 235 as much as possible, or Broadway Extension, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. But that's
we would go up Santa Fe.
okay.
Yeah. We
there
would-
was
Santa Fe's nice.
Santa Fe's nice
It is.
because you're like, you end up kind of going through some neighborhoods and it's like, okay, I'd rather go through neighborhoods at 25 and
100%.
Yeah,
than stop and go on 235,
There was
and-
Right.
a lot of times. So when we were getting ready for the event, like when I first started, I didn't know you as well.
Yeah.
Because I'd just go out there early because I was like, oh, well, I went got all the raffle stuff. And so I'd hit Iron Nation right before I came into Edmond, which was kind of the pain. That was the worst part about that was not
Because you turn left when you
left
pulled out
across
of there.
235 or across Broadway Extension and Broadway right there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you can't really necessarily shoot to get across most of the time because you're sitting in traffic. So we'd have to go up Kelly, come in the back way, which I used to work in Edmond. So I was like, oh, you can go do this, and that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that when we would start it at 6, a lot of people were like, I'm going to wait until 7 to come up there. And you had the diehard people that are like, oh, I'm coming whatever weird
Well,
way.
and the temp drops too.
yeah.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Traffic drops, temp drops. So
Yeah.
it's a little better.
Yeah, and like for me, one of my buddies lives over by OU Med. So there's a lot of times where I take 36 over to Kelly, drop down Kelly to go over to his house, and then like going to Shawnee, like we were talking about, we just didn't have the time to do it for the last one. We were like, well, we'll take 62 all the way out. We'll go through
Yeah.
Hera, and then we'll
Yeah.
go through all that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like 40 is gonna suck.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you've got Douglas right now with you've
Yeah.
got Douglas to Anderson with all the
Yeah, that's not.
construction.
It's
It's
not
not
ideal.
ideal.
it's not ideal. It's not horrible, but
It's really not that bad. No.
It's not. It's better now. A couple months ago, it was awful.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
but it's actually they're actually working on it. Shock for
They're making progress.
ODOT.
Right.
yeah,
they're
the state
actually-
flower has been out there for
They're
a while.
actually
Yeah.
working. But so it was like, I don't. Because we were talking about running out there, and it's like, fuck, I don't want to run on the highway at 5 o'clock, and it's like I'd rather, like I told him, just run down 23rd and
Yeah.
hit 62 and come down and
Go around and do all this.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
fun because that's the other thing is like, with the motorcycling, like there's a lot of times where someone's like, oh, you can just ride 40 all the way over here. And I'm like, nah, man, like Kinsey, when she came on, so she's out in Harris. So she's like, oh, I took the back roads all the way over here. And she's not from Oklahoma, but she was talking like, I took this road, I took that road. I'm like, oh, you took Hogback. And I was like, you came a very convoluted way, but the very fun way to get here.
She's seeing the area.
Yeah. And she's learning about
Yeah.
where she lives at now.
Yeah.
And like, there's times where like, oh, I'm going to go out to my rental property out by Wiley Post. Well, I go out a very different way when I'm on the bike as opposed to in the truck because I'll take 66 over there.
You
and
want the fastest way.
yeah, like
right.
in the truck, I'm just going. But on the bike, I'm like, well, what are the Clydesdales up to today?
Right.
I'm going to go through Yukon, which is going to add 20 minutes on for no
I'm going to
reason.
go see if they got wheat in that field.
Well, like
yeah.
Well, like you said, EBM, when we would go up, we would, because I live over, north side, so we'd get on 235 there at like Hefner.
And it was
Well,
awful.
it's already a parking lot.
Already.
And we
already.
can't split lanes legally, so we're not doing that.
Nope.
And we
Yeah. And so then we started going, like literally, Hefner and then up Kelly,
Yeah.
because it's like, I don't want to zipper merge or people, like when you're in a parking lot and I'm trying to get over to the fast lane, where I can move, and it's like, it's not worth it. Like, we'll just go up Kelly and, like you said, come in the back way.
Well, and
It's
there's always
faster.
the one or two idiots
Yeah.
that are going to go 75 in its 60 when that
Yeah.
are zip emerging that are going like down the shoulder.
Yeah.
That it's not worth you getting clipped.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So take the scenic route. That's safer, and that's, I will say, since having kids, I'm very different about. So I didn't care when I was younger, right? In my 20s.
Yeah. I
I
get
rode
it.
anywhere,
Invincible.
whenever. Yeah, I rode like an idiot sometimes, but now I'm a little bit more choosy on what roads I take,
absolutely.
when I take them. I love going east. I live in Choctaw, so I'm east of the city, right?
Yeah.
Love going further east.
Yeah.
I rode the Indian to my daughter's softball game Tuesday,
Yeah.
and it's not a long ride, but
Right.
the part of I guess the allure of a bike, right, is you can ride it for 5 minutes and there's your mental vacation.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can ride for 30 minutes or an hour. It doesn't have to be a 2 week, or a weekend long or 2-day trip to get some clarity. But it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to joke around a lot about that. Like, I'm like, I'll Odo check you because as a metric guy, you have all the Harley guys. They're like, oh, you're riding a metric bike. So
Well, yeah,
let me see your odometer.
We talk goal wings, right?
yeah, but then you see those guys, big miles.
300,000+ miles on a bike, 400. I think I saw one over 500,000 at Sturgis one year.
Yeah.
And I've seen Harleys, approach the 300+ too. But and there's nothing wrong with crushing highway.
No,
nothing at all. I don't care.
Yeah, well, and as I've gotten older too, is like I have a lot of friends now that like they love to ride, and maybe they have kids, and they're my vacation or my mental time for myself is the 15-minute ride from my house
Awesome.
to the Walmart to get a gallon of milk.
Sure.
And I'm like, at first I was like, man, that's kind of a bummer because like, wouldn't you just pick a Saturday to go ride? Well, I have a lot of stuff going on most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't always have an open Saturday to go ride, or like I don't have an open Tuesday to go spend 8 hours on the bike. But
Right.
you are getting to enjoy it. So, and then I think the other part is too is when you start seeing those guys out riding that much, and it doesn't matter if they got to ride 15 minutes or 15 hours, like they're out enjoying it.
Yeah.
And you're seeing more motorcycles out. So they're actually getting it. That's one of my things is like whenever I can say like, oh, I saw a bunch of bikes out on the road today. It's a nice day, but other people are seeing them. So hopefully they're thinking about them.
100%. Well,
Yeah.
so years ago, I think my daughter was 2, and I taught her. We played slug bug, and you guys are both
Yeah.
V-dub guys.
Yeah.
Well, you don't see many V-dubs on the road these days,
No.
and unless it's like an Atlas or something, which is a great car. But anyway, but I've taught the girls to play.
Sure.
Shit, I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is.
I saw a Touareg.
Well, because exactly,
Yeah.
nobody gives a shit about those cars. And no offense to them, but nobody
Yeah.
cares. It's a normal
Yeah.
fucking car. But
It's a
but I've taught
commuter.
them to play slug bug, but with bikes.
Okay.
Because when they turn 16, because now if I see a VW, even the new ones, I see it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it.
No, absolutely.
In fact, on the way here, there was a red one that had some kind. I think it had no exhaust. It was loud as piss, man. I was like, Jesus,
Yeah.
But I teach them, to hey, spot them. Tell me what
Yeah.
it is. And some of them are even telling me if it's an Indian or a Harley.
Oh, okay.
Like or Zoe can tell me, what she thinks that bike
It
is.
was a
and-
road glide with shark mouth on it.
she doesn't know that, but she'll say, hey, that looked like your Harley or that looked like your Indian or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's helpful.
Yeah.
And it'll get her paying attention. So if kids can, or if parents can teach their kids to notice these things.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I was out riding around on the 300 right before I sold it, and I was around the corner from here, and there was a trailblazer that was being real weird in front of me. Like clearly they were lost, and they pull in the neighborhood like right in front of me. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna be stuck behind this person. I've been stuck behind him for like 2 miles. I'm like, okay. Well, as I'm rolling around them, like, because they just stopped and pull over with their flashers. Well, as they're rolling around, I'm like, I stopped. I was like, hey, are you guys okay? And they're like, these 2 old ladies, and they're from Kansas. And they're like, we're fine. We don't need medical or anything like that. I was like, okay, are you guys lost? And they're like, yeah, we're trying to find an AA meeting. And I was like, oh, okay. And they have been longtime members of AA, and they travel around. So when they're in different cities and all that stuff, they go to different meetings and all that. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, do you know where the AA particular meet spot is? I was like, no, I'm going home to have a beer right now. But what's the address? And I'll show you. And so it was like over off of Villa, not too far from here. And I was like, well, you're going to go down here. You're going to just follow me. And they were like, what? And I'm like, no, just follow me. It'll be fine. Because it's 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back. Yeah. So I lead them over there, and they pull up, and they're telling me a little bit of their story about, partying back in the 60s and, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, why did you lead us over here? And I was like, well, because you guys were lost, and clearly you needed some help. Mm-hmm. But also, I was pretty new to motorcycling at that point. But I was like, if I helped you, and then my buddy's out riding, and you see my buddy, maybe you'll be more cognitive of that. Yeah. And they were like, that's what? And I was like, yeah. So they were saying that. So then I run into a buddy that's still, he actually goes to those 8As over there. And he was like, yeah, this old couple comes in, and they're telling us all about how this super nice motorcycle man led him over here. And now everyone's looking for motorcycles over here in AA, and they're all sober. So they're trying to tell all their drunk friends, like, hey, if you're getting drunk, at least watch for motorcycles.
I mean, every little bit helps, right?
Yeah. It's being a good ambassador to your favorite or one of your passions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
the bad thing is like, because I caught this the other day, and it pissed me off, but it was, I'm gonna assume a group that hangs out at Casey's. We all probably know who that group is, because they were all on sport bikes running up 235.
Yeah,
and they're blocking all 3 lanes.
Yeah,
and they're blocking. And it's like, they're slowing down to like 45, and it was like, look, I get it.
I love it, but no.
I love it, but at the same time, like, this is the reason, why people.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look.
It's bad PR for
right.
something you claim to be so hardcore and passionate about.
Right.
I get it, and
there was a guy in a big ass, F-250 jacked up. They like went over on the the left side shoulder trying to pass, and then they're all like surrounding him.
Oh, and they're pissed off at him.
They're pissed off at him.
And you're like, hey man, I don't know who shot first here, but
well, no, it's like, you caused that.
Yeah.
And then they all, we hit the interchange, and they all, north of 44 and take off and doing, mock Jesus, and it's like, cool, but. Like,
do you, but be smart about it. And that's easy for us to say, because we are, we'll just say, fortunate enough to make it to this age.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And got away with some dumb shit. But at the same time, I never did that.
Right.
But if I did,
I mean,
so if you play it out, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
If you do that, and then something does happen.
Yeah.
Every person you know is going to call you a dipshit and a moron, and you deserved it. And your dad would call you that. I know my dad would.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like you. I get it. I like doing hood rat shit too sometimes, but I'm more
I like doing it around.
I'm more particular about the hood rat shit I'm gonna do now.
Sure. And my thing is
where.
And where
and when.
Right.
Yeah, because like, to me, like, growing up street racing, like, it wasn't like over by 39th, everyone saw, cruising and all that stuff. We wouldn't really race on 39th. We'd go way, way out. So if something happens, like, first off, we have open road, so we're not worried about anybody pulling out.
Yeah.
Second, like, you're just not dealing with cops, because you're not right there, because all the cops are right there. I'm like, I don't want my car impounded. I don't want to pay for that ticket. And like, I understand to a certain extent, like, if you're.
Did you see they
150 people?
150 people?
They arrested 150 people. They impounded I don't know how many cars.
It was like 65 cars.
Apparently, they were tired of a certain way of things being done, so they're
Yeah.
making a point.
Yeah, they were tired of the
Did you
street
see
neighbors.
Did you see the parking lot in the streets? It was
Yeah.
just like black from the burnouts and everything else.
Well,
It's like,
and-
holy shit.
So, that was something that
That would have been so fun.
we were talking about that. Another buddy and I that I used to run around with, and he was like, "Yeah, you remember when we used to do that?" I was like, "Yeah, but we didn't have 200 people doing donuts with people in the middle of the road. Like
Yeah.
you'd have people off to the side, so if anything happens, like they're
Right.
not getting hit and nailed by a
Or
car.
shutting down 3 lanes of traffic. That
Yeah,
Again, if you're doing it like at night when traffic is lighter,
right.
and it's hopefully not going to affect many people, or maybe just you have a lane,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You don't need all the lane.
Yeah, you don't need the whole
whatever.
highway.
Try to be somewhat intelligent about it, to where it's not going to cost you or one of your friends your life.
Yeah,
Let alone, piss somebody off to where they do something,
yeah,
or you do something and then they act in self-defense and now you're hurt or worse.
yeah. There was.
Anyway.
I was watching a reel from a guy out on the 405 in LA, and someone did like a takeover. And so it was motorcycles doing wheelies and donuts in the middle of the highway. And it's like, it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning on the 405, but the 405's always busy.
Yeah.
And so, so he was talking about, he's like, so we kind of shut down the highway, and we saw an ambulance. They were trying to go do something, and we were like, oh, whatever, not that big of a deal. They didn't think anything of it. So I don't know if they got arrested or what. He didn't really talk about that, probably for the legality reasons of it. But he was like, yeah, actually, one of our friends that was coming to meet us got hit by a car, and that was the ambulance that was going to him.
Yeah.
So we delayed
Right,
him. He's
right.
fine. But I was like,
But he may not have been.
What
he
what
could, that
the-
5 minutes
Yeah.
is just as little as 30 seconds to save a life when it comes to that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and what if it's somebody's daughter or son or
Yeah.
or mom or dad or whatever. Like we can go off on a tangent on
Yeah,
blocking interstates.
Yeah.
and
Like there was
previous years.
Yeah, because there was like I'm trying to remember where it happened. It was somebody blocked an intersection recently locally, and I guess they knocked out a headlight. And this person was asking about like how we found this person and all that stuff. And I'm like, you're not going to find him. No one's going to talk about it. But like at night, they're trying to get a bunch of people through. That's what
Right,
it looked like. They were
right.
blocking the intersection to get all the people from Casey's to leave. But at the same time, like we've been on funeral processions where we've done it. Everyone's pretty respectful towards it. But yeah, but I mean, there's times where it's like you don't really have to do that. Like you can everyone can kind of stop at a light, and you have a couple of different groups that get to the.
There's nothing wrong with it. Well, if you have a massive group like that,
Yeah.
and you're doing a ride just to have fun and the camaraderie and hanging out with your boys or girls or whatever,
Yeah.
then you don't. It's okay to have a group or two when it's that big,
Right,
and as long as there's no emergency vehicles, going
Yeah.
through. I don't mind if you block a road or whatever for a brief second,
Yeah.
but doing it, for an extended period of time for however many people that are going to go
Yeah.
hood ratted up on the interstate, that's a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that was because someone was like, "Well, they were doing burnouts and wheelies and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, you shouldn't have blocked for that."
Yeah.
Like,
It was. I was in one when it was that big deal they had up in Edmond, and we rode through, and I think it was CJ's deal where
yeah.
it-
So when we left Bass Pro,
when we left Bass Pro,
Yeah.
and they went up I-35, and you got
that
off,
was
got off at Second or
insanity.
Danforth, and that one was because it wasn't communicated, I think, to a lot of people, where they were trying to think it was going to be one continuous procession all the way on the highways and everything else, and people were getting mad at people on the highways who were just driving on the highway.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, you're traffic, you're in traffic, you need
Sure.
to obey traffic laws.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I get it, you're a group of 20, but that tractor trailer, at the same time,
Like they're at work.
they're at
Yeah.
work, and
Yeah.
like you need to get out of his way real quick, and you
Yeah.
can catch back up, like
Yeah.
and so there was a lot of time. There was a lot of people that didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
that's
and
the
it
sketchy
was,
thing.
That was kind of like
Yeah, because when we got done, I
fuck.
was like, there was a bunch of people that were because we got split up for a little bit, and I
We
was like,
did.
that was
and people were like cutting people off
Yeah.
and like
doing weird
I'm like-
shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
but that's the other. I mean, I love motorcycling. I love most of the motorcyclists I meet, but I'm like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
times where this is maybe the first big event they're doing. I'm like, you step it up, man.
Well,
Yeah.
and it may change how they may ride completely different when they're solo or with
Yeah.
just 2 or 3 people.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
when they're in this group, that's where they feel like they may need to ride a certain way.
Yeah.
And that goes for any bike. I don't care if it's a a plastic sport
Yeah.
bike metric.
Well, I mean, you
the
get
little
used-
mini motos or cruisers. Like,
Yeah.
You get
because
used
I've been around some cruisers that rode a little different too, and
well, you get
you're like, ugh, it's a bad
used to
look.
Yeah.
riding with who you ride with, your group.
Yeah.
And then like when we did T-Bars at Tatankas, there was Dallas DFW guys came up. They ride completely different. Like we ride a little more loose and spread out. They're bar to bar,
Yeah.
they're tight, and they're riding
fast.
And I understand where that comes from because of the area. You've got 3 of the deadliest
DFW.
highways
Yeah.
in the United States are in Dallas.
Yeah.
So
They're not riding defensively, they're riding offensively, and not like offensively like fuck you.
Right.
They have to do that to
Yeah.
be alive.
for safety.
right. And it's like, no, I understand that. And they ride that way wherever they're at because that's how they're used to riding.
Yeah.
And then
It's wild as shit to watch it happen though, because you're like, that's some talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like the ones that you're like, you've not been riding very long, but you learned from the fire hose. Really, you drank really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
cool as shit. Like seeing stuff like that. So when I'm in the Tiger van, I'll run like tail gunner for groups or I'll kind of like the whole adopt a biker thing.
Yep.
I'll do that any chance I get. My wife does that any chance
Yeah.
she gets.
Yeah.
And it's whenever you see a group of 15, 30, 40, 50 just come hauling ass like that, I will help.
Block.
Well, I'll help control traffic a little bit. That's safer for them to get
Yeah.
by
Yep.
and and get to where they're going safely.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because that's the thing is like, there was somebody was talking about, oh, well, that's your choice to ride your motorcycle. Well, my barber, he's been by my barber for a decade, and he rides a little Honda. That's his only means of transportation right now. That's not his choice. I mean,
Yeah.
he can't afford a car right now, so he's in between trying to get everything figured out. Like, yes, obviously, like when you see me on my motorcycle, I made that choice. I'm out on it because I'm having fun. But at the same time, that not everyone's got that same luxury.
Yeah.
No?
And just because we're in Oklahoma, like we've seen people riding in the winter where I'm like, what? I'm like, that's
Yeah.
got to be either they're earning some stripes or that's
Well,
the only thing they got.
Right.
So,
Or like here now it's getting warmer. The other day I was getting ready to pull out on May, and here is 10, 12 mini bikes. Just ripping down May. Not Groms, but the little
Mini bike.
Smaller.
like smaller.
the actual like
Oh.
Coleman
like
mini
the
bikes.
actual
Yeah.
like Coleman mini
Yeah.
bikes. And they're kind of hooliganing it up, and
Sure.
I'm like, I get it.
How
it's
else do you
fun.
ride those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, I wouldn't be like if it was me. I'm like, oof, not on May. That's a little too much. Like
Yeah.
I'll rip around the lake and be a hooligan.
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, because on the dam you're kind of
Yeah, you're kinda set.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
kind of. It's like I don't really have to worry about oncoming traffic.
Right.
And people are already kind of going slow. But
Right.
and then it was a couple months ago. I saw I was heading up 235, and here's a Grom, and he is ripping up 235 like 75 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, you swap that, or something. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
like you're on this tiny
Was it
little
a tall
thing,
guy?
and
I met it. So Cycle Your Bike Night has some different bikes, right?
Right.
At their event. And there was a tall dude on a Grom. Then he said his would do 75, 80.
Yeah, there's
But
a
he's done a lot to it.
right.
That's cool as hell. But,
yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, "Kid, take it for a spin." I was like, "I'm good."
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm
yeah.
good.
I just I was like pulled up alongside him, and I'm like looking at, and I'm like, huh. And then I look down at my speedometer, and I'm looking back,
You're
and I'm
like,
like,
what?
Jesus Christ.
when I did the small CC stuff, when we were doing that group, we would just put on rides and like be like, oh, we're gonna go ride to Del Rancho and more.
Yeah.
So like you have scooters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I tried to kind of say like 400 or 500 cc's was about the biggest. And my buddy that was helping do it at the time, he was like, I don't really want the Grom guys around.
The guy with the Vespa, the black Vespa.
Yeah. So Kevin was like, I really don't want to deal with the Groms because they're always doing wheelies and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I get it. Because he had
Yeah.
a bad experience in Dallas where Groms crashed a scooter ride and he got hit by a guy doing a wheelie. And I was like, I get it. But like that doesn't mean everyone's going to do it. So eventually I was like, it's going to happen. The Groms are going to show
Yeah.
up. Like
Yeah.
they're in the realm.
They're the mini moto.
Yeah, so they show up and they're all like they're actually pretty nice and all that stuff. And this one guy goes, "Yeah, I got a 300 swap of mine," which my motor was in his bike
Yeah.
from my 300 Honda, and I was like, "Oh, that thing moves." He's like, "Oh yeah, it gets going pretty good." Stretch swing arm and like, but he was really cool. I mean, like the Grom guys, like yeah, it was funny. They were like, "Yeah, we'll like go like do a wheelie in a lane."
Yeah.
But like there's like 10 of us that are out riding, so we all know when it's cool.
Yeah.
But like
Right,
they're like what
right.
their favorite thing apparently was to do at the time. I don't know if they still do it. They would go to like a parking lot, like a Walmart, and go to like the back, and they would just do like wheelies in like a couple parking spaces.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you're not doing it on the street.
No, I've been to some of those events to where it's like primarily stunt riders, right?
Yeah, right.
And I've shot the shit with them, and it's cool because they see me and they're like, oh, god dang, a lawyer. And I'm like, nope,
I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
not a lawyer.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then we get to shooting shit a little bit,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, so he rides too. I'm like, yeah, not like you.
Yeah.
I don't have a sport bike anymore. Now the pan will do some,
Yeah.
it'll
Listen, hooligan.
do some, it'll do some wheeling and stuff, but I can also, hop that curb and go run through that field where you can't.
right.
But it's most of them are cool people.
Yeah.
That's like any person.
I want to
Any-
go down. I don't know when they do it, but they do it on the weekends. The Southside Sled guys stunt or they practice in the Crossroads parking lot. Crossroads Mall, the parking lot, because they'll post on like Instagram or something. I'll see them out there where they're like doing,
Yeah, they're doing
like sitting
Preston's out there doing stuff.
there.
and then,
Mike.
yeah.
Is it Mike?
No. Mark. No. Sean.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Mike.
Sean is the Southside Sled guy.
He's the big tall one, right?
He's the big tall. Yeah.
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 He's the one on the garage.
But he's not. He's not. I don't think he's the one doing stunts.
No, but there's some of the guys that like.
So it's a small world, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of those people aren't. So they all know each other. Everybody knows Sean.
Right.
Yeah. So there are people that Sean is hooked up and helped out and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And so there are also a lot of outfits that people don't know. That whenever they do go to these parking lots and they're posting these videos of them doing stunts and all this stuff, some people, especially if they don't like that or if they're not part of that scene anymore, even though they might still ride, they don't know that the person that's setting that up has a deal, like a handshake deal with the owner of that property, has their permission, and that person does not leave until every piece of trash is picked up.
Right.
So they're
Right.
respecting the property, but they're also, they have a safe place to do their hooligan, right? To
Right.
to
You're not
practice their
worried
wheelies.
about getting hit by a car or anything.
No, and
Yeah.
it's all legit, it's all legal.
Yeah.
So people see those videos and they're like, oh, they're doing
Well,
this
I've
crazy
noticed
shit, and it's
right.
like, no, find out more about it because there's a good chance they're doing it the right way and
Right.
they're safer. Now, doing it on the street, I'm not gonna lie, I love seeing somebody just riding wheelies as much as anybody.
Just ripping a nooner right
I'm
past you.
still
Always
right.
cool.
I am still a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like when I see that, or I'm like, oh, that's
the
awesome.
bike nights when they're leaving, there's been several, from EBN or T-bars or whatever, and somebody will be on a bagger and just 12 o'clock, and it's like taking off, and it's like, that's so cool.
I'm not gonna say that's not cool.
Or like the other night, it was a roller out of
I missed
Flycatcher,
it. Yeah.
and out of the parking lot, down the park, and just spinning that back tire, and it's like, that's so freaking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so awesome.
Can't say I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a certain amount of that's still cool, but that's always that stuff too. Is like he did the roller for half a block.
Yeah.
Then he got on he got on the road and he just rode.
He wasn't blocking cars while taking them all
No,
lanes
no.
and stuff.
No,
Right,
and like-
no.
But like
That's-
the stunt thing, I've seen, like, I've watched, because I'll catch a reel on Instagram of them doing it, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're at Crossroads, which I get it, because it's a big open parking lot, and there's like, it's not just a couple of guys, it's like there's
a lot.
families out there,
100%.
because there was one where they had a little kid on like a little 50cc pitter that was like getting the front wheel up, and he was in a helmet, he was in like the full motocross gear, and it was like, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's awesome
Yeah.
that, it's like any other kind of family deal, but you're out there like getting them into it young.
It's cool as hell.
It's cool as hell.
It is. Well, letting them see all that stuff. That's not to offend the people that are at the KCs or whatever.
Right.
Because it's not like we're just bashing on all, because we're not, but
There's a lot of really
there's a time and a place.
yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of really different people that go out to that kind of like the hangout spot.
Yeah.
For that. And you'll
Yeah.
have the people like there was that guy Robert that used to come out to EBN that worked for Don.
I mean, EBN had a bunch. You had your metric guys. You
Yeah.
had your
EBN was a very,
you
very
had your
diverse
HY.
bike night.
Yeah.
You had your metric. You had your HYBs. You had your sport bikes. You had
It was awesome.
Your
Yeah.
So EBN, you it's diverse, man. And
Right. Right.
So there was one in Tulsa, and it hasn't existed for a while now, but it was called the Crude Roundup. Mm-hmm. Their bike night, the first one ever. I think there was like 150, 200 bikes, and there was everything coming
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, you're still obviously your cruisers are
Yeah.
still going to be a good portion.
Yeah, it's here.
Well, I mean,
There were dirtsters
in
and
Oklahoma,
all kinds of
you
stuff.
this just by nature in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
you have your Hell Yeah Brothers and you have your sport bikes.
Yeah,
And
that's
from,
everywhere.
From that's everywhere. And then offshoots of that, you have, more your metric, you get into, you've got your boosas, your stretch boosas, you've got your, your big wheel baggers, you've got your,
I love all of them.
custom T-bars, speed shop bikes.
Yep.
And, and I've gotten where like, look, I like the big wheel baggers. It's not my thing, but looking at the work and the effort that people have put into it, and it's like, man, I love seeing it.
Just being a motorcycle fan.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. So I work with and sponsor the PMRA.
yeah,
And the Go Fast bikes,
Right.
The
Yeah.
real
Right.
Go
Right.
Fast
Yeah,
bikes.
yeah.
Mother of God, those machines are
Yeah.
they're absurd.
yeah,
And so Chatty with NT Performance, he's kind of the head of all of PMRA, right?
right.
And going into his shop for me, it's like a kid in a can, and I don't know jack shit about any of that,
Yeah.
but I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God, that's so cool. And
that was like-
Real Fast Performance. He's another shop out of Yukon, and the machines that he's got, and it's cool because both those guys are so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And Chatty does like a lot of the tuning, and he's legit scientist about it.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Well,
it.
that was like when we went to Sam Wells' place,
Yes.
and we got to go
Yeah.
in, and like you walk in and it's like a doctor's office,
Yeah, right.
because it is immaculate,
Meticulous.
meticulous,
Yeah.
and he's got his little Kawasaki that he's working on, that
Little
was,
Kawasaki. He's got an H2 up on the bench that he's working on,
Yeah.
which it's a very cool classic bike.
yeah, but
Probably
and
the
then-
only one we may ever see.
And then
Yeah.
right next to it, he's got this, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars drag bike that's like, what was it, a 5.8 a second, or it was like
Yeah, it's
7
a- it-
seconds.
it was a-
It was like a ridiculous, from Finland.
Yeah. It was a, it was a it was a quarter-mile bike that was all built out of Finland. They made like, that one was the first one. There was like 3 or 4 other ones they built, but it was a professional NHRA like pro stock level bike, like and it was competitive in that.
Yeah.
And it was like, that thing's
So
stupid.
Oklahoma is we house
It's crazy. And
So Bruce Owens lives 3 or 4 miles from me. So, or I'm sorry, Bruce's son, Marion.
Yeah.
I legit have a baseball card with Marion Owens on that card.
Yeah.
And I remember with my grandpa, and he passed away a long, long time ago. I remember watching Marion Owens on TV because my grandpa loved watching drag racing.
Right.
Yeah.
And my grandpa retired from Cummins Diesel, and he's like, he loved
Right.
turning a wrench. But that's when I met him, I was like, holy shit. And in his shop, he's got bikes like up like on the rafters and his drag bikes.
Right.
But then you've got Chris Wedman.
Yeah.
He is
yeah.
also a magician when it comes to he not only just racing his own, but
Building
crew
motors.
chiefing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And not just like little. I met people from like Georgia and Jersey, like literally East Coast, that were like, "Hey, do you know Chris Wedman?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
like awesome dude."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, he, and they'll tell me some story about how amazing that dude is."
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus.
Well,
Yeah.
and so that was what it was funny when we were traveling for a little bit. Street Outlaws as a TV show was really, really big at that point. So people either knew Oklahoma because of the Thunder or from Street Outlaws.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, it's cool that you guys like have some fast people there." I'm like, "Well, we've bred some really great drag racers and really great
Right.
Carroll Shelby, while he was not from Oklahoma, did spend time in Oklahoma. You know, like he's from Texas.
Yeah.
I was like, Mario Andretti's from Indianapolis. Like you have some big names.
Yeah.
Like so this tire, for instance, this drag slick is from a front motor top fuel dragster from back in the 60s.
Okay.
That was Jimmy Mix. And like, so he was a well-known name. Like Mike Cook, when he was on, he was like, he was a hero, like growing up as a kid. And there's a bunch of those guys here. But then it's funny because like we'll start talking to somebody. We're like, "Oh, you know this person, that person?" Like I've never heard of them at all. I'm like,
Yeah.
They're probably one of the better known people in that sport.
Yeah.
Like Elite Motorsports in Linnywood. Like that's where JR's at. Like,
Yeah.
and he's well known in pro stock and all that stuff. And people are like, oh, really? He's
Yeah, well, it's because it's not a stick and ball sport, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not the big sexy sport.
Yeah.
So if and that's the motor sports. Hell, we have
Who was it that was flying in last year that we?
No, when I saw him on the
Because he was doing the dirt track racing.
it was at the Chili Bowl. Tony Stewart
Yeah.
Stewart was one that came in, and then the Hans.
It was Team Stewart, because he flew in. He was flying into Tulsa
yeah,
like a lot
yeah, because he's getting ready for the
because
Chili
he's
Bowl.
getting ready for the Chili Bowl.
Yeah.
and was racing dirt track.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's like
there's been a lot of, again, they don't know because they don't go.
right,
Yeah.
But
right.
there's a lot of celebrities that go through the Chili Bowl up there in Tulsa.
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And
And this is another one that's not even a big part of.
because there's the dirt track that's north of Shawnee. Because I want to hit some of their
Talking about like Meeker.
Meeker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's also out in Jay, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing some next level epic. Well, I'm talking like Nitro Circus level shit.
Yeah,
Really?
So
No,
the-
literally.
Yeah, so the
Really?
Nitro Circus did some stuff out there, and then they did that the VW Beetle class thing. That was, I think it was Red Bull that put it on, but they were out there, and it was like one of the World Championship ones. And like my buddy sends me a message, he's like, "Why aren't we there?" I'm like, "I have no idea that I don't even know where that's at."
It's because it's northeast of Tulsa, but
Yeah.
it's in the middle of nowhere for a reason. But
yeah.
but that's like Raynard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got your Supercross dudes. Hell, Guy Cooper's from Stillwater. He's an AMA Supercross winner
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or motocross or whatever. But I'm gonna sound
Apparently
like
has
an
a
idiot not knowing.
museum of a house.
No, it's insane. So if you do any ADV stuff, you'll have to come to the Sooner Adventure Ride, which is in the fall.
yeah.
But we always go from Seba Station.
Yeah.
And there's now I don't ride this because I don't do the single track stuff, but I will be there doing my Lawtiger thing, and then I'll go to Guy Cooper's house.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends, and you have lunch. And he has a museum, but he has thousands of bicycles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because
Okay.
that's what his family. No, it's insane.
Right.
But in one of his shops, he's got his motocross bike or
Yeah.
supercross bike. Sorry, and apparently, like I've got a friend that gives me shit about saying the wrong thing, but about this.
We're doing our best.
Well, and that's what.
Don't worry, we get it too.
Well, and
Yeah.
that right,
Yeah.
but
We're
that's what he
publicly
did.
honored.
But he, he's got his bike from whenever he won with Suzuki and all this cool shit. But yeah, he's got so many, and he has containers full of bicycles that aren't even displayed, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
it's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool as shit. And
Yeah.
and who would know that?
right.
Yeah.
So, and I've been fortunate enough and lucky enough to meet Guy and shoot the shit with Guy and his wife Wanda and
Right.
and hear their story and they, in fact, a cool, fairly quick story is they duplicated the ride that Cooper, that Guy and his mom or his dad and his mom did on their Indians, their 19 whatever Indians,
Yeah.
100-year-old bikes. They did the same thing on the modern Indians. So Guy and
Okay.
Wanda went and did the same ride
Wow.
in Northwest Arkansas.
That's cool.
That's cool.
It's cool as shit.
Yeah.
That's like I was going. So my brother used to live in Kansas City, and I was driving up there one time to visit him, and going
Hold on, I
through
got it.
Topeka, stopped at Topeka Harley Davidson, and tighten up the microphone. Yeah,
Is that where it's
yeah,
it's going limp.
yeah. He'll mess with it with his moist hands.
Spit on it.
But get
Sorry,
up there
that's
and to Topeka Harley Davidson. Well, I go in and they have the Evel Knievel Museum, and
Yeah,
they
that
have
was a
big
wild
they have
one.
Big Red and
Yeah.
everything. And so
Yeah.
I went through and was like, what the hell? So when we were going up one time, me and him were going up, and I was like, hey, we got to go to this. I got to show you this. And like we get there and we're like, why is it in Topeka?
Yeah, that
like
was such a
he has
weird
no connection really to Topeka, but the guy who found it, found Big Red was
Right,
from there,
right.
And so we went through, and it's like they had motorcycles of his, they had the Rocket, when he tried to jump
So-
Snake Canyon, and I guess now they're moving it to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was gonna
And-
say.
Yeah. They're
So when we went through last time, it just shut down because they were moving to Vegas. So that Harley store does restorations on classic Harleys, like pre-war and post-war bikes and all that stuff. Like they specialize in a lot of really early bikes.
Right.
And so when they found Big Red, they asked them if they knew anybody that could restore Big Red, and then they were like, "Well, we could do it." And the guy's like, "Because it's a video," and he's like,
Right.
we don't know anything about what we're doing, but we're gonna do it." And then so they restored,
Found it out in a field.
yeah, so they restore it like 2 period. It's really cool because you could walk in through part of it, and then they started restoring other Knievel bikes, and then people kind of donated some stuff. And I think when we were there, it was like right after Robbie had passed away from cancer.
It was.
And so they had one of his bikes there, and they were like, so that's this whole Evil Knievel museum on the top floor, or the basement or whatever it was.
No,
And
it's top floor. Well, 2 floors.
Yeah.
It was and then the basement. They just had a bunch of old.
It was just an old Harley antique motorcycle museum, and they were like, "Yeah, that's what we do here." And like, also we sell some new ones, but like these are the ones you want to look at.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, everything they had that wasn't Knievel related was for sale because they're like, "Oh, do you like this? You could be yours." And I was like, "Good salesperson right there." But yeah, it's kind of weird. Like you don't think about the history behind a lot of things, and then people were like, "Oh, it's Oklahoma. There's nothing there." I'm like, "There's a lot of notoriety that's gone through here."
A shocking amount.
Yeah. Like Luke, when he came down, he wanted to go see Mickey Mantle's childhood home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he that was a big point, and he made it, and he stopped, and I was like, "Well, there's the statue that's downtown." So he didn't know about that. So he could, and I'm like, and then who is it from? It's not maybe Binger. There's a baseball museum that's out that way. It's not. Is it Jim Thorpe? Is from there? I think so. Because like he's from a little tiny town, and like there's a museum that's all dedicated to him. Every time I go by, it's always closed. But as a non-stick and ball sport person, I was like, it'd be cool to go see it. But like
he scored a lot of touchdowns in basketball, I think.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty nerdy buddy that he loves learning about random stuff, but that's what he makes those jokes because he doesn't know
Right.
anything stick and ball. So, but we sat and watched an entire baseball game once, and he legit asked me an insane number of questions.
Yeah.
He was like, if this is annoying, I'll stop. I was like, dude, I love the fact that you give a shit and you're trying to learn.
Right.
And I mean, he was asking gnarly like rule questions, and I was like, how the fuck are you even coming up with these questions? Right. But he truly wanted to know.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool, but yeah, he gets that way with everything. But
yeah, you're just like, okay. Yeah. So my wife is really into sports. And so when I first started dating her, she was like, I watch sports like every Saturday for an OU game. It was go to her aunt's house, her mom, and
we'll
grandma.
introduce her to Chris.
Oh yeah, so when we're at parties, people will be like, "Oh, did you see the sports ball game?" I'm like, "No, hold on, let me go get the one that did." And I
was in my garden. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was out in the garage working. I'm usually working on something, but so I would ask questions, and she'd be like, "What? What are you?" And then she would answer them. So so then when we go to baseball games, I like baseball, but because I've been to a bunch of those games, I still don't know how the game's played.
That's fine.
I have a very
but
rough,
you still have fun when you go see them.
I've gotten past.
There you go.
I've gotten past the point of asking questions because I'm like, I don't know. You could tell me
Where are the hot dogs and the beer?
Yeah, I tried to do the 999.
Yeah,
you've heard of it before, right?
No,
9 beers.
Oh Jesus,
nine
yes,
hot
yes,
dogs.
yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
I'll put that to bed on Tuesday.
That sounds horrible.
Are you going to a game on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We went just last week.
Okay. Yeah, so we went out.
They were doing
the Comets played San Francisco's team, the Giants farm team.
They did a special since the Thunder was won 68 home games. It was like $6.
Oh yeah, $6.80
for tickets.
Yeah, okay.
That included fees.
Yeah.
And it's $2 Tuesday or whatever.
Oh, dude, I need to go.
Yeah.
So we were going to go.
Fun.
Well, so I tried to do the 999 last year. My buddy has stadium or season tickets, so he invites me out, and he's like, "You need to do it." And I'd never heard of it until then.
Yeah,
I got really, really close.
Your bloodline's weak. You couldn't complete it.
The hot dog buns what really ended it for me. Hot dog number 7. I was like, I can't eat any more of the buns. Can I eat like double hot dogs and just go?
No,
just the wiener.
Yeah, just the wiener.
Just gotta suffer through it.
Well, I did the beer challenge.
Just put 2 wieners in my mouth.
I did the beer challenge, no problem flat. I had all 9 beers by the 3rd inning, and they were like, "What the fuck, dude?"
But you may have got too full, and that's carbonated.
Yeah. So we were out a couple weeks ago.
Got to slow down.
Yeah, we were out a couple weeks
Dunk
ago.
the hot dog in the beer. So then That that's what Kobayashi does.
I know,
Right.
Yeah, but
right.
and it's
He
water.
knows something about.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah,
It's a lot of wieners.
So I was telling everybody I'm going to do the 999, and I was like, all right. So I go and get my first beer, and I was like, I got 2 beers, and it was $45.
Ugh.
And
Where?
at the ballpark.
You didn't go on the right day.
And I was like, what the hell? And then I got 2 hot dogs, and that was like 20. I was like, I am not a millionaire. I can't do this.
No, nobody can afford to do that.
Yeah.
So our buddy Luke was texting me. He's like, how's it going? I was like, fiscally irresponsible.
Right.
I spent probably what I should have spent on the date night
Yeah,
for
just
like
sign
4
a
beers.
3-year loan to pay for this 999
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Affirming my hot dog.
They got me at a
And they're
20%
they're
rate.
like they're like shitty ass, the cheapest, bar ass hot dogs, and,
right. So
the Walmart buns.
I did see an ad for what's the popular brand of hot dog?
Nathan's.
Nathan's.
Yeah.
I saw a logo for Nathan's somewhere.
Yeah, they had
Those are the expensive hot
those are the
dogs.
real ones.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
But the ones the cheap ones when you go on like the Tuesday night,
Yeah.
are
They
like
swap that
they-
out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because
it
it's
goes
like
from-
it's like you get the Nathan's one is over here with all the toppings. You
Right.
get like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chili, the cheese. Your $2 one is just a bun, and, and
a bun and a sad wiener.
It's yeah.
And those beers, I think the cheap beer that on the specials is a small cup too, right?
Yeah.
like it's
I think
not
it's
a
like
full.
it's like a 12 ounce or something.
Yeah, so the
It's-
ones I got, Coop is a partner, so they have I guess a home brew beer. So I was like,
Yeah.
let me get one of those.
Yeah,
so I
they
had a
sell it
sip
there.
of it, and I was like, yeah, it was tasty
yeah,
for the
that's why
sip.
that's why it was $45 because
Yeah.
you're like over here drinking.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're drinking
You
the
had
fancy beer.
Well, so then I go
Yeah.
back, and I'm
you
like,
got to get like the ultra.
well, yeah, no, it's like, what's the cheapest beer?
Did you have like an F5 or something? Is that what it was? An
No,
IPA?
it's their it's whatever their home.
You drink it with a spoon because it's so thick. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was like. I'm not doing. I mean, I could do the 999 challenge with F5s. I've done that at home, but I'm like, I've got to drive at some point. I think.
Yeah, you ain't. You're
Yeah,
Ubering home.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I, like,
yeah.
Or you're lime scootering your ass a long way.
Yeah.
So I like look at my wife. I was like, I can't do this anymore because like I can't afford the beer. And she's like, what? I'm like, my tab is like $80 in beer alone. She's like, you've gotten 4 beers. I was like,
Yeah.
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 So I asked for the cheapest one, and it was so whatever I was paying for. It was only $2 less, and I was like, I got to come back out here on the cheap night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I used to, the last firm I worked at, they had a box, so you just got all the beer and hot dogs and everything for free. But that was before it was all popular. I was
Is
like,
that the same firm as
yeah,
Okay.
as your cousin.
my cousin? Yeah. we had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, it was because they had a right behind home plate over by the announcer
Yeah,
and all
It
that stuff.
was.
Yeah, it was nice.
You got the free Cracker Jacks and
everything.
we take Zoe.
Yeah.
I think we've taken Riley once or twice whenever he
Yeah,
when he
was
invited
at,
us out. Yeah.
yeah, like I used to go. So back in the day, Arby's used to do if you bought like
The meats.
yeah, if you bought a sandwich from Arby's, you got a free ticket to it was the Red Hawks at the time.
Yeah.
So I've been because if you got the ticket, you had a free hot dog and a free soda at the ballpark because they
Yeah.
were just trying to drum up business. So I've been to probably like 500 or 600 baseball games in
Yeah.
the city just because
Yeah.
we were poor and that's where we got food at sometimes.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I never saw a game win. I didn't see a game win until I was an adult.
What?
Yeah, because like it would always be the Red Hawks lost. I knew
Yeah.
I heard mythically they would win.
See, I think our first loss that I've witnessed in a long, long time anyway.
Yeah.
Was this last week
Oh really? Well, so
against
yeah.
the Giants farm club. I forget what they were
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
But it was funny because like I was like I've never seen
See,
them win.
we used to go to the 89ers when it's
Oh
on
my
the
God.
fairground.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember before they
and
tore it
The
down.
only reason we would go is so we could get that goddamn helmet with the ice cream in
Yes.
it.
Yep.
And
Now
I
they
was-
sell
and-
$15 Dippin' Dots out of those. damn
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I was.
and then we would be over on the hill hoping
Huh?
to catch a foul ball,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
would never happen. And
yeah, we used.
I've gotten 2 or 3 from it was Dodgers now Comets
Right,
games.
right.
Like 2 or 3.
Damn.
And I had none as a kid.
Right.
0. So my cousin Jeff got them all the damn time.
Yeah, well, because it's Jeff.
I guess.
I
but
have a really good off-air
he
story I
would
can tell you
get them
too.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's I've been to so many games. I was like, but I've been to when the Barons were here with ice hockey.
Yeah.
yeah, I went to a few of theirs. The was it the Barons and then the Oilers.
The Oilers were
Or-
They were the Blazers.
Or the
long
Blazers.
time ago.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah,
Blazers
yeah.
and it was the
because they
Barons.
used to play in the Myriad.
The Myriad,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So
we
what-
went to a couple of those, saw some good fights.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there was
Yeah.
a year.
There's a guy named Stanish. He's the littlest shit on the ice. He fucked so many people up.
Yeah, dude.
he was like their instigator.
Yeah. So there was a year when the NHL had a lockout because of contracts and stuff. So like the NHL didn't play. So
Yeah.
they were allowed to come down to the lower level, the minor league teams, and none of it went back up
Yeah.
for the record. So like
and then we had a
Damn.
so all like the timeouts, or not timeouts, but like when they get stuck in the box,
Penalty
and all-
box.
But yeah, the penalty box. So when they got stuck in that usually goes on the record and all that stuff. So I went to probably every game that
Just
season.
fights.
And it was just belligerent. It was like, I've seen you all season and I want to fuck your shit
Yeah.
up.
It's crazy.
Dude.
I went to a couple.
Nuts.
We had the
Stand
XFL
dish.
team
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
like a 2 weeks or
Right.
some shit. It was like so quick.
For a storm.
Yeah, and went in there and it was
Bob
like
Stoops was like, bad investment.
they literally had like the end zone was like 4 foot wide, and then there was like a wall.
Yeah.
And so they'd be like running in
like,
and like, you know, it looked like a fucking Bugs Bunny cartoon, and they're like, skank, you know. Yeah.
That's so my buddy, he was the best man at my wedding, so I hadn't talked to him for a little bit because he's a business guy, I'm a business guy, so we have a bunch of stuff going on. We finally have some business that we had to do together. So we're sitting there talking on the phone, and I'm like, "How's everything been going?" He's like, "Oh, pretty good." And I bought a soccer team, and I was like, "What?
What? That's a bad investment.
Oh no.
I know.
Yeah,
I just like
here.
to talk shit about soccer.
It was just funny because he was like, "Yeah, my buddy called me, and they're trying to get some money together."
That
you know,
weird football.
yeah. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm a part owner in it." I'm like, "Are you a part owner in the energy?" And he goes, "No, it's the Oklahoma United Football Club. I can't remember what it is exactly." But he's like, all
You know,
in.
they have some angry fans because it's people thinking it's the other football
Yeah.
showing up.
No, he said
Probably
that
be like, what the hell?
So
No,
it's actually soccer though.
it's actually
Okay.
soccer. They use the field at UCO for their home games. But it's cool because he's like, "Yeah, man, I never thought I'd be like a sports ball owner." And I'm like,
It tells me somebody that would make a soccer investment.
Yeah.
In America anyway.
yeah, it was funny because I was like, "Is this going to pan out well?" And he was like, "Well, it's projected to pay out really good." I'm like,
It does, it does.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they're building that whole soccer complex just south of
Is the energy still
Harkin.
here?
No,
Yeah.
they lost. Well, no, because they're shuttered. They lost the contract because of the stadium, so they have to build a new stadium and all that stuff.
But so they are going to come back or whatever?
I mean, that's the point. Yeah, that's the plan. Like
or something.
Yeah.
will come
Did
back.
they
something.
actually do well though? Like financially, did they
yeah.
do well?
I mean,
Really?
It was weird because I went and watched a couple of games, but it was like, you know, they were playing at
Taft.
Well,
Yep.
they played at McGinnis,
Yeah, they played at McGinnis,
and then they moved over to Taft.
Yeah,
And so it was just weird. Like, it was weird. You know,
Okay.
you're almost like you're going to a high school game, and
Yeah.
they played really good,
but you have pro level players that were playing on the team.
Right,
Like
right.
one of my wife's friends, the husband played, and he was the Jamaican national all star.
Yeah.
Like he has like when you go to Jamaica, there's a portrait of you Usain Bolt, Bob Marley, and then that guy.
yeah.
And like that, like played for
Okay.
So
in
they're-
London, and like he was made a lot of money doing that.
yeah. No, there's a ton. Those guys, the big ones can make a ton of money.
Yeah, he
but-
made a ton of money. He
Well,
did
they're
not keep
doing
it.
that whole complex.
Uh-huh.
It's supposed to be a soccer stadium, and then there's supposed to be other fields
Yeah.
where they can actually host tournaments and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then we're getting the
I
World
pre-planned
Cup.
that for a lot of years.
We're getting the World Cup. Something's coming in
Yeah, I don't remember.
27 or 28.
Really?
Yeah. They're not the world. It's like the
Not the big world.
No,
not
it's
the
not the
big
wo-
World
it's-
Cup, but
it's-
it's like the pre.
It's a premier funnel like thing. It's not the World Cup,
Hang
but it's
on.
the help kind of like
It is from the World Cup. Actually.
yeah. But it's a lower level of it. And those get hosted at all kinds of different places. But yeah, like it's because growing up, like we had the 89ers, and that was really about it.
That was it.
And then you had the Blazers, and then when the Thunder came through, like when unfortunately with Hurricane Katrina,
We had the Hornets.
Hornets, and that was cool. 'cause
I
it
went
was-
to a ton of those games, man. I loved going to Hornets games.
Yeah, and like I was working downtown when they were well, no, I wasn't working downtown. I was just not old enough, but it was cool because it was like, oh, we have an NBA team. It's
And it
not ours.
went well.
Yeah, and then-
Obviously.
yeah. And then one of my cousin that moved from here to Seattle, now when I was up there, she's like, "Don't tell people you live in Oklahoma." City."
No, they fought people.
Yeah. Well, and so
Yeah.
Like legit would fight. If you
Yeah.
were Thunder stuff, they fought you.
yeah, and I was like, "What the?" And they were like, "What?" Because they have the not the Eagles. What is it? The NHL.
About the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks.
Yeah.
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 And like,
But if they didn't shit on their own team, then
Yeah.
they could have still had. I know that's gonna not go over well if anybody from up there listens.
oh,
but
they'll be fine. They'll get it.
but I don't care anyway.
Yeah.
But they can't keep their own team up there. But
Well, they didn't want to pay the fees to do the new stadium and all that stuff, and it's a monumental task to
Yeah.
pay for that stuff, and that's a lot of people. So there was a big push a little while ago to have an NFL team, and they didn't like people don't realize how much it costs the initial, like when Vegas got
Yeah.
the Raiders, how much it cost to build the stadium and keep them.
It was dumb.
and that
Yeah.
stadium's only good for I think it's 15 years.
10 or 15 years.
Yeah, and then you have to redo it, and like that's like because people were bitching about the Paycom arena.
'Cause that's
we shouldn't
why-
have to pay for this.
Yeah.
If you want to keep the Thunder, we have to pay for this.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was
why
going on
it's Paycom, though.
in Vegas
Well, yeah.
with where they're tearing down Tropicana because they're building a baseball stadium. I forget who's going there. Is it
Where?
in Vegas? The baseball team that's supposed to be going to.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
It was.
I'm a White Sox fan, so I'm used to losing a lot.
I can't remember if it's the A's.
They've had a
or-
rough go.
Yeah,
is that Cubs?
Yeah, I think Cubbies beat the White Sox, but
Yeah. So
this a couple
Rub it
weeks
in.
ago. But I'm an old school White Sox fan, and it's been rough.
yeah, I mean that's
It's been very sad.
yeah. So they're getting the A's. Oakland
The
A's
A's,
are
okay.
going to.
Yeah.
So it's Oakland that
Las
can't
Vegas
keep
just,
their teams.
Las Vegas just
That's where the Raiders are from.
Yeah.
Las Vegas just raped Oakland.
they're like
yeah, give us your football team, bitch, and then came back and like
baseball now.
taking that too.
Yeah.
We're gonna
What
take
else?
all your rappers.
Right.
Yeah.
What else you got?
yeah.
We're taking that bridge.
But they're tearing down Tropicana
Okay.
right there across from MGM, and they're building the stadium there.
That's
know
pretty
that.
cool.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
I was out there for a conference, they were working on the Raiders Stadium, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" And they're like, "That's
Yeah.
where the Raiders are going to be."
Yeah.
I was like, "I can't imagine that," but
Did you see the F1 flop that
yeah, well, they handled
Went through
that
Vegas?
very poorly on the
it
law.
was?
Yeah.
So we were in Vegas, I guess, as they were building the track.
Yeah,
And a lot of streets were shut down and certain times and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I
They
was
were
I'm
like-
curious to see how this goes. And
Trying to
not
fi-
well.
It was
trying
not
to,
good.
Trying to find people for like peeking over the fences.
Oh yeah,
and
looking through the glass bridge or
Yeah,
whatever, like
yeah,
finding
yeah.
it. But then, man, that was
Well, they
a
were
disaster.
charging-
Then the thing that popped up out and like took out a couple of cars.
Yeah, they had
the
a
little
manhole.
Manhole.
Yeah,
Yeah, that popped up.
So there was 2010, 2011. They were trying to get Indy cars to come, not like Indianapolis 500, like but Indy cars.
Yeah.
Where they were
Right.
road course.
Right.
And they were trying to get him to come through downtown, which I was like, "Fuck to the yeah, that would be amazing."
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize those cars really tear up the streets because they're low on aerodynamic drag and all that stuff. They're very low to the ground, so they tear up the asphalt a
I
lot.
will tell you this a little for all the people still listening who a little nugget,
made it through the basketball and all that stuff.
Little nugget here. The what is it? Coda track.
Uh-huh.
What's the I don't know.
Coda Circuit of Americas.
Circuit of the Americas track has a bike night.
Yes.
You can ride a bicycle.
Oh, bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can
also-
go out and ride a bicycle on the track, the actual track.
And there are certain events where you
And
can
it's like
do a
thir-
parade wrap on your motorcycle down there.
It's like a-
GP allows that.
Yeah, it's like on a Thursday, I think, and it's like $10.
Yeah.
And they do them. I want to say during May and June. They only do them during May and June, and it's on Thursdays if there's no like racing event. But it's like, yeah, because I found that and I was like, fuck,
I really want to go down there and do it.
I really want to go down there
Yeah.
just to say I did it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I figured that'd be cool as shit.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, it's almost hard out time now that we've
All right.
made that joke a bunch.
All right.
So, is there anything else you want to plug, promote?
I mean,
I want to plug my heart out.
we talked about Breakfast in the Boonies. There's the Shawnee Bike Night or Bikes on Bell, which
And
is
that's fourth or third.
third Thursday of the month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got June 19th, July 17th are the next ones. There is the Bike Night at the Rock, which is the Guthrie Bike Night.
Yeah.
Right.
That is, what do we got? June 13th, July 11th, August 8th.
Okay.
The Guthrie Motorcycle Swap Meet.
Oh, yeah.
Which there's one in June 7th. This won't likely be out by then, but November 15th is the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
And-
see Andy.
Go
Yeah.
see Andy. And
Yeah.
then, Rock and Down Bikers Association they came together
And
And
I saw where they're doing
It's
something.
called the Southside Bike Night.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's who's. I didn't know
that's
what was
on
going
Fridays.
Okay,
now,
that's
where's
Friday
that one going to be at?
It's at Johnny's Charcoal Burgers, charcoal broiler, but
off of 240 and
off 240.
Okay.
Western
Yeah, our Walker.
Walker.
Yes.
240
Yeah.
and Walker.
On the
Yes.
north side of 240.
Yeah.
yes, north
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. So and there's a little gas station next door.
Yep.
And that's on Fridays.
Yeah. So well, thank you very much, Josh, for everything you
Yeah.
do for the
Thank you.
community. Like, can't say that enough. And-
Well, I appreciate
it's
it.
awesome.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I love doing it. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So if you see
Yeah.
Josh out, just go, Lawtigers!
Ask him for a kickstand puck.
Right.
Dude, those things
Yeah,
are awesome.
yeah.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah, I try to keep the van stocked with
Yeah.
them, but and hopefully nobody needs our services. But if they do, there's nobody better to take care of them.
Dial 1-800
absolutely.
Lawtigers.
That's right. Or lawtigers.com. Oh, and if this is out in time, we're doing our Stylin' and Sturgis giveaway. You can go to stylinandsturgis.com to register. It's free. It's an $85,000 package this year. So
Did you hear that, Billy? Go. Did you hear that? Go win that, Billy.
Yeah. Let us hang out.
so a few years ago, we did have an Oklahoma guy win. He won an $85,000 to $100,000 bike.
Nice.
That was
Nice.
polyolphy built, turbocharged. It was a lot of carbon fiber swap. It was
That's cool.
Kind of badass.
Hell yeah.
That's cool shit.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap it up. So.
Yep.
Yep.
All
Outro
right.
music. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
I'll
it.
let you later.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All
Love you guys. Bye. Fuck you, Nate.